guys, and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I am joined as ever by my good friend, your good friend, the world's good friend. It's Mr. Matt Turner. Matt Turner, how are you, good sir?
Rob Goodwin, friends and family, the army of the Stardom Cast family. I'm fantastic. I hope everybody's doing great. I hope they're having a terrific day. I'm so excited because we have a lot of fantastic wrestling to talk about. Obviously, just the other day, we released our episode from the Marigold Standard with some fantastic wrestling there. But this side, the Stardom side on the Stardom Cast, this New Blood show, and as well as this phenomenal pay-per-view. Great stuff to talk about. Brother, I'm great. I had a loaded weekend last week. I did make mention, again, on the Marigold Standard that I went to go see the Mighty Megadeth. Came in around a little bit after 1, took about a 40-minute nap, and then was up to cover and watch this Stardom show this weekend. Hopefully, it's a little more low-key. Hopefully, I can get caught up on a little bit of sleep. But regardless, who needs sleep when you have great wrestling action to talk about? But no, brother, I am fantastic as always. Blessed, happy to be here. What's new and exciting with you, my friend?
Yeah, it's all good. Everything is fantastic as always. I finished watching Namba Grand Fight today, and I was in the middle of Natsupoi and Hazuki, and I have never been so annoyed for a class to be on time in my entire life. It was just as Natsupoi hit the fairy magic, and I was like, no, stay outside for a minute. They were like, why? I was like, just stay outside.
Natsupoi.
Yeah,
Natsupoi. People's champ. The people's champ.
And then I started saying bye poi to them, and they were like, do we need to get someone? I was like, no, it's all good. Just leave me alone for a minute. I'm just going to cry in the corner. So why are you crying? Just leave me alone. But yes,
what a great way to start the show, folks. I don't know what else we got for you. Rob's crying in the middle of work.
Just honestly, I haven't stopped. It's heart-wrenching, it really is, but we're going to talk about that, talk about the fantastic white belt match, the fantastic red belt match, challenges, English commentary, we've got loads of news as well as talking about the latest in the New Blood lineage. We've got so much to talk about. But before we do that, because we are aware that we tend to go 3.5, 4 hours, and we're going to try and cut that down a little bit, not solely because I've got a football match tonight and I'm already wary of that, but because we know that, it can be a lot to listen to us for 3 hours, can't it, Matt?
Yeah, true, but at the same time, the listeners like the longer episodes. But yeah, considering the fact majority of our episodes are 2.5 hours, and then as we got into the 5-star, I think everything was like 3 to 3.5 hours. I think there was one. I think it was the preview show, like right before we did our live final, went almost 4 hours. And then next week we had a nice 90-minute show because all we talked about is Stardom wrestlers not wrestling in Stardom. So that was nice to give a little breather. But yeah, we have loads of news to talk about these two fantastic shows. And the Io and Kairi watch is absolutely terrific. Maybe the best wrestling match that took place in a WWE ring this year. Again, maybe her match with Bianca Belair. I cannot wait to talk about it at the end of the show. There's your listener retention, folks, for this end of this episode. But yeah, loads and loads of excellent stuff, my friend, and I cannot wait to chat with you about it.
Love it. Absolutely love it. But before we get into all that, you know the drill by now, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Matt Turner, what is coming up on our Patreon this week?
On our Patreon, earlier this week, our alternate commentary re-released the 2020 match for the High Speed Championship with Azumi taking on one Starlight Kid. And yes, folks, the theme for the month of September is high-speed wrestling. So next week will be Azumi defending the high-speed championship against Momo Kogo from 2022. So a lot of Azumi on this month because it is high-speed wrestling month. Also, we do have our What If, where I was joined by One Up Culture's own Trent Brewer as what if you can change the finish, the outcome of 5 Stardom matches. And then we do a little bit of fantasy booking after that. So that'll be on your Patreon feed sometime in the next few days. So that is going to be a really fun one. And I cannot wait for our fantastic Patreon members to take a listen to that. And then fingers crossed, hopefully there will be no more cards subject to change for the next week or so. I'm supposed to be recording with Andy Header later this week on what show was better. Rob Goodwin, we have a doozy. What show was better? Night one of the 2019 5-Star Grand Prix or night one of the 2020 5-Star Grand Prix? So a lot of really good stuff. Micah and Momo Watanabe's on that one. We got Momo and Hazuki, Mayu, Konami, Saki Kachima, Mayu and Julia, the main event of the 2020 5-Star Grand Prix on night one of the best 5-Star Grand Prix matches that we really don't talk about. So yes, I'm scheduled to record with Andy, and hopefully that'll be up in the next week or so. And then by the end of the month, our roundtable discussion, partner, of what are our top 5 favorite high-speed matches of all time. And I have a great partner with me for that one, for that roundtable discussion. None other than the passion package himself. You, Rob Goodwin. That is you. I've been sitting on that one for about 8 hours. So Rob Goodwin returns to the roundtable. The passion package himself returns to the roundtable discussion. As me and him will discuss what our top 5 favorite high-speed matches of all time are. That and so much more coming up, past, present, and future, on the Stardom Cast Extra.
And again, we just want to extend our gratitude to everyone that has been a patron, that is a patron. It really does help us out. Of course, if you are wanting to get a little bit of a bigger slice of the Stardom Cast pie, sounded better in my head than it did in practice, but there we are. Then you can at www.patreon.com/the Stardom Cast. And yeah, go and check that out for all of the episodes early and ad-free and all of that good jazz. I'll give it another plug at the end of the show. But, Matt, let's delve into some news because I wanted to save it from the Marigold Standard to the Stardom Cast because good grief did we have some news. Now, obviously, if you're listening to this, the title of the episode is Namba Grand Fight Review. So there are going to be spoilers. This is your spoiler warning. Possibly the biggest news story coming out of Stardom is the fact that Timeless Toni Storm will be returning to a Stardom ring for the first time since 2019, July 2019. She appeared on the Videotron after Mayu Iwatani and Hanan's victory over Azumi and Miyu Amasaki to challenge Mayu for the IWGP Women's Championship on the 5th of October, in Nagoya Golden Fight. That will be Mayu's 7th title defense. She's already at well over 500 days. I believe at that point it's going to be 530, something like that, which is absolutely mad. These two, of course, Toni Storm and Mayu Iwatani, have got a lot of history. They've had 4 singles matches together. Mayu has never beaten Toni Storm. Their record currently sits at 3 Toni Storm victories and 1 draw. It does also include the unfortunate match where Mayu dislocated her elbow 2 minutes into the match. That forced a stoppage of the match and ended up with the belt on a very, very confused Toni Storm. And obviously, that was apparently, according to Toni, it was supposed to be a Mayu victory. So Toni sort of, I don't want to say looked into the championship because that's not fair on Mayu, but she ended up with the championship without sort of realizing she was going to. Ironically, Toni's last match in Stardom was in July of 2019 in a 6-woman tag where she was teaming with Mayu Iwatani. So a nice little round of a nice cyclical history, let's say. But Matt, what are your first impressions, your first thoughts about the fact that we are going to be getting Toni Storm in Stardom on this pay-per-view?
I'm super excited for it. And again, when we previewed this pay-per-view last week, we're like, some of these matches, maybe they should have held up for, because again, they're running the Dolphins are they're running Nagoya October 5th, and that's a 7,000 seater. We have a historic crossover coming up. We have obviously Sumo Hall at the end of the year for Dream Queendom, and they're literally giving us a card that can draw 3,000 or 4,000 fans if it's properly built up right. So that was, and I mentioned last week, partner, that if we're getting all this great wrestling literally on like next to no build, and the pay-per-view was great, we'll get into it. What do they have up their sleeve for these next few shows? Well, apparently Timeless Toni Storm, who is one of the most over characters in all of AEW, the second biggest wrestling company in the world. And yes, Toni Storm absolutely is somebody that is one of the best wrestlers to ever come, one of the best foreign wrestlers, or maybe probably, in my opinion, the greatest Gaijin ever in Stardom, because nobody else has done what she's done. You know, she's won the red belt. Obviously, we see Bea Priestley was able to do that and had a really good run, but she won the Cinderella tournament and the 5-star Grand Prix, and she did that all in the same year. She's the only wrestler to do that, and she has the most successful title defenses of any championship in Stardom, 15 successful title defenses with the SWA belt. So considering the fact that Toni Storm, again, in my opinion, the greatest foreign wrestler in the history of Stardom, and the fact that she left Stardom, she went over to NXT UK. She was over in WWE. I think she was getting ready to feud with Charlotte Flair when she decided to, she wanted her release. Came over to AEW, 3-time AEW World's Women's Champion. In my opinion, the best women's wrestler in the short history that is AEW. And now the fact that you take this great wrestler with this phenomenal gimmick in the timeless Toni Storm character, and that we're getting her coming back to Stardom, not only back to Stardom, but back on a major pay-per-view where they're going to try to draw somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 tickets. And the fact that she's wrestling Mayu Iwatani. Again, Mayu, when she first won the World of Stardom Championship back in 2017, the reign was cut short because she was injured in this match with Toni Storm. Mayu is obviously better now than she was in 2017. Toni Storm, not only from a character, but a wrestling aspect, is way better now than she was in 2017. And folks, both these wrestlers were great back then. I think I'm expecting this match to be an absolute barn burner. And the fact that you put the IWGP Women's Heavyweight Championship on the line is just going to add more and more intrigue to it. I'm really excited for this, Rob. I know there was a lot of Stardom fans, not a lot, but, a decent amount of Stardom fans that were pretty upset when this AEW and Stardom relationship was first formed. They thought that Stardom was not going to be getting a lot in return. A lot of people were upset that Tam went over. Mina's been over several times, and then Mina didn't even go to the 5-star because of her time over in the States and England doing work for AEW. Azumi went over there. A lot of people were saying, well, what are we getting in return? What are Stardom getting in return? And I said, folks, pump the brakes, because when something happens, when one of these major storylines is over, one of these big stars is no longer a champion or nothing to do, I wouldn't be shocked if you see a Mercedes Moné and or a Toni Storm come over. And folks, here it is. I saw the writing on the wall. I knew this was going to happen. Once Toni Storm dropped the AEW World Championship, we figured there would be a time between now and the beginning of next year she would be over in Stardom. And here she is, cuts a great promo, all in black and white, with the wine, with the in front of the fireplace. Great promo on Mayu that is setting up an absolute dream match that we have not seen for quite some time between one Toni Storm and one Mayu Iwatani. I'm super excited for it. And I know, again, I kind of figured we would see Toni Storm in Stardom from time to time. When Toni Storm first signed with AEW, she did Chris Jericho's podcast and was very adamant that if her schedule and her contract made sense and were able to free up some time, that she would want to do some shots at Stardom. And here it is. Toni Storm is at the peak of her career, not only from a creative aspect, but from a wrestling aspect, coming back to Stardom and challenging one Mayu Iwatani. Rob Goodwin, I am so excited for this match coming up in just a few weeks.
So, I saw quite a lot of people online who were very excited for Toni's return. I'm very happy for Toni's return. Cannot wait. We were there in America when she got that massive reception, when she made that impromptu appearance in the 2300 arena. What are your thoughts on the timeless gimmick in Japan? And what I mean by that is, yes, there are undoubtedly Japanese fans of AEW, but do you think the timeless gimmick is something that will translate to the Japanese fans? How do you think they will react to that gimmick? And also, do you think her in-ring style has changed a lot to accommodate the timeless gimmick in a negative sense, so that when she gets in the ring with Mayu Iwatani, basically, are we going to see the same Toni Storm? That's my question.
Great question, but very much like we saw with Io, with her match with Utami. Io is great in WWE and NXT, from a ring aspect, right? Better in Japan. Toni, great in-ring aspect in AEW and a phenomenal character. But I got a feeling that when we see Toni Storm come over to Japan for this match, she's going to ramp up the ring work. And for several reasons. One, AEW, not unless it's a pay-per-view, she's not getting much time, right? 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes, give or take. This match with Mayu is going to be closer to 20 minutes. Not only that, no disrespect to any AEW female talent. Is there anybody in that locker room that is anywhere near as good as Mayu Iwatani? No. And that's no disrespect to them. Nobody in the world, maybe other than Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson, is as good as Mayu Iwatani. So you know that Toni Storm is going to absolutely bring up her game. Because one, she has a lot of respect for the Stardom fan base. She has a lot of respect for she's a lot of respect for the Japanese crowd. Now that not only is she representing Toni Storm and timeless Toni Storm, she's representing AEW. And I know she's going to go out there and absolutely have a blowaway match. When this match is over, when we review this show the following week, I can almost guarantee you a good sum of money. We're going to say that is the best in-ring Toni Storm match that we have seen in quite some time. And again, her stuff in AEW from a ring aspect has been fantastic. Matches with Jamie Hayter, the matches with Mariah May, the matches with Shida have been really, really good. But it's Mayu freaking Iwatani. It's a major, major match. My guess is going to be the co-main event of this show. It's going to be an absolute barn burner. And as far as the gimmick goes, I think she's going to be a little less gimmicky. I still think she'll do it because the people are going to want to see it because it's something different. Very much like us over here in the States, we like it when the Japanese wrestlers come over because they're very much no gimmick. Where in America, most of the wrestling that we see we see on TV is more entertainment. It's more gimmick. It's more promo. Where in Japan, it's different. Where it's basically their storyline basis telling the story in the ring instead of a promo because it's something different. It's something that we don't see all the time. So I still think she's going to do the shtick because the shtick is over and it's going to get over in Japan and it's going to sell a lot of tickets. Whether she brings Luther over or not, I don't know. I hope so because he's a really, really good side piece to that timeless character. Regardless, any way she slices it, whether I'm 99% sure she's going to come out as a timeless Toni Storm character, again, because it's wildly popular. But if she comes out for some reason as the Stardom Toni Storm, I got no problem with it. Regardless, any way you slice it, we're getting Toni Storm back in Japan versus Mayu. Yes, please. And thank you. Not even please, we're getting it. Thank you.
I mean, that was literally going to be my next question. Do you think it's going to be a case of, the gimmick sort of taking over? But I do think you're right. I think, Toni has been very, very, very vocal about her respect for Stardom. I don't think for a moment my question was not based in, do you think she's going to do, a load of shtick with the gimmick and then take it home? Again, she's in with Mayu Iwatani. But it was more a case of, do you think that gimmick will translate to the Japanese audience? But I think you are right. I think the fact that she probably will tone it down a little bit. But again, there are Japanese fans of AEW whose only exposure to Toni Storm will be the timeless Toni Storm stuff. So there is going to be, I imagine, a sort of compromise between the two. I am in complete agreement with you that I don't think there has been a Toni Storm match in AEW that is going to touch this match with the Mayu Iwatani. You put it perfectly. That's no disrespect to anyone in AEW. That's just how good Mayu Iwatani is. When you're in the ring with the best, it's all elevated, isn't it? You are elevated to join that. And I think Toni is going to do absolutely everything because this is more than a payday for Toni Storm, isn't it? Let's be honest. This isn't just going over because of extra money. This isn't going over because I just want to be on a show. This is because she has a lot of respect and passion for Stardom. She is openly very, very, very appreciative of what Stardom did for her career. So I think we are going to get a different Toni Storm in a way to the one that we are seeing on AEW television. Whether we see shoes, I don't know. I don't know. We will see.
Maybe it's Mayu. How funny would it be if Mayu throws a shoe? Because darn well during her entrance she may slip and that shoe might accidentally come off. I'm doing air quotes, even though it's an audio podcast, and it might play into the finish somewhere. I don't know. But no, again, thinking about this, again, in ring, this is going to be a great match, but we may get some comedy as well because, again, the timeless Tony Storm character is very comedic with great wrestling. And Mayu, whether she knows it or not, it's kind of very good with her comedic timing as well. I mean, she's not Saki Kashima, but you can get some really fun interplay between the two and tell a really, really great story. Yeah, I'm super excited for it. Again, I figured this would be coming sometime soon, and considering the fact that Tony's no longer the champion, I figured, oh, we'll probably get it at Sumo Hall. And they're like, nope, we're going to give it to you in the first week of October. So my daughter's birthday is the first week of October. So I don't know if she knows it or not, but maybe this is a little birthday present for her. So happy birthday, Lily.
I'm sure she's very appreciative. What did you get me for my birthday, Dad? I didn't get you anything because Mayu Iwatani and Tony Storm have got. Dad, I don't even like wrestling, but watch this match.
What a dad.
What a dad. Stardom are in Aomori today, Wednesday, and tomorrow, Thursday. But it was announced that, unfortunately, keeping with the Mayu Iwatani theme, that Mayu will miss both of those shows due to recovering from injury or treatment for injury. It also says that Tekla will miss those two tournaments as well. There's no additional information as to the injury. However, Mayu did post something to, I think it was her Instagram account, where she is having, what is it where they put needles in you? What's it called?
Acupuncture.
Acupuncture, thank you very much. Yeah, she's having acupuncture, so I am assuming that it is something to do with back or neck. I know that her neck is almost perpetually taped up now, as is her back. So fingers crossed, it's just a little bit of time off to recover and a little bit of R&R, so to speak. Obviously, it's not surgery. So fingers crossed, everything is okay. There's no explanation as to why Tekla misses these two tournaments. Again, hopefully it's nothing to do with injury. I think they were initially announced for the show, but I could be wrong. So obviously our good wishes, our best wishes, in fact, go out to both Tekla and to Mayu Iwatani. There is a hell of a lot of Stardom shows this week, and they announced a whole glut of cards. So they're doing back-to-back shows in Aomori on the 18th and the 19th, of course. However, they also have shows on the 21st, the 22nd, and the 23rd. So we are going to be busy little bees next week, Matt. They've announced the cards for all of them. I'm not going to go through the cards for all of them, but there is some interesting things that we're going to look at when we preview them. But yes, 5 cards in 7 days is quite an impressive haul. I think the only day they're not running is Friday. So yeah, lots of Stardom to catch up on with that show on Monday in Nagata, which is obviously going to be an interesting show as well for a number of reasons. Moving on from that, friend of the show, Walker Stewart, has been announced as the face of the English commentary team moving forward for Stardom. Walker, obviously better known for his work with New Japan. He confirmed via his Twitter account that he, starting with the Nagoya pay-per-view on the 5th of October, will be voicing the English commentary. There's no news as of yet as to who will be his co-commentator. He did say that the English commentary has already confirmed for Historic Crossover 2 in November and for Dream Queendom at the end of the year. Now, Walker did go on to explain that though this is only for select pay-per-views at the moment, the metrics will be tracked, the fan engagement will be tracked, and legitimate pay-per-view buys will be tracked. And obviously, if they see an upsurge, especially from a Western audience, then this will ultimately result in more English coverage. Now, this is fantastic news. It's repeatedly the one thing that Stardom fans crave, especially in the West, or obviously in the West, to help them get into the product, for someone to tell those stories. So for someone as fantastic as Walker is, having listened to him effectively do the commentary on his own, aside from the shows where he's obviously with Chris, it's great when he's got the wrestlers with him, but, it's Walker steering that ship. We've heard Walker do Stardom matches before when he commentated on Windy City Riot between Momo and Mercedes. We've heard it before. We know how good he is. It's only going to be a plus. And also to have that consistency of commentary team, because we've had so many different commentary teams. We've had Stu Fulton, we've had Sonny Gutierrez, we've had Chris Charlton, we've had Mariah May, we've had all sorts on the commentary desk, and none of it has been consistent. So for Walker to say, right, I'm here for definitely the next 3 pay-per-views, hopefully going forward I will be on more. Fantastic stuff. Cannot wait to hear Walker's dulcet tones over these Stardom shows, Matt.
Yeah, Walker is obviously very knowledgeable in the product. He does a great job. He always wants to know more and more about Stardom. Again, great guy, great commentator. This is a win for everybody. Really, I mean, it just goes to show you the workload that Walker Stewart is doing, because again, he's doing New Japan, who run quite a bit. From what I understand, I still think he does some like local independents back in the where he's from, like the Oklahoma, Texas way. I still think he does some independence there, and now they're going to throw Stardom on the plate, and he's all welcoming it. He is all welcoming it. So I love the work ethic. I love the, for lack of a better term, passion. He's got so much passion for pro wrestling, is always wanting to learn more. And again, considering the fact you have a major star like Tony Storm on this show, you're going to have a lot of Westerner fans saying, I really want to watch this show, but I can't. And I know a lot of my friends that were like, I want to get into Stardom or New Japan, and I want to go back and watch the All Japan stuff from the 90s that I always rant and rave about, but they can't get into it because of the Japanese commentary, which again, to each his own. It boggles my mind that you can't watch that, but I understand because of the language barrier. Now you're going to get a lot of the AEW fan base that are like, I want to watch this show, but it's Japanese commentary. Guess what? No, it's not. Now it's English commentary with a guy that knows his stuff, that is absolutely fantastic. And the people are going to be seeing for the first time a Mayu, Tam versus Suzuki, and whatever other matches that we get on this show. Maybe a Natsupoi versus Tekla. Again, we don't know as these cards are unfolding. And as you said, partner, there's 84,000 shows between now and the 5th. So I'm assuming we're going to start building up the rest of this card. But regardless, with these 2 main event matches, with a huge star like Tony Storm, and now we get English commentary, not only for this show, but again, historic crossover. My guess is going to be that we are going to be getting it for Sumo Hall at Dream Queendom, and then probably a lot of the other big shows moving forward. But I like how now they're going to be looking at metrics. They're going to be saying, wait a minute, this is an uptick on pay-per-view buys for the English speaking audience, that maybe it's something they bring Walker and Chris or whoever in to do these shows from time to time, which is only going to help Stardom out in the long run. This is great. Congratulations to Walker. Again, friend of the show, great person, great commentator. He deserves all of this, and I'm so excited to hear his fantastic commentary go across the fantastic wrestling promotion that is Stardom, my friend.
Yeah, it's already been confirmed for Dream Queendom. I think that we are, with them plugging Wrestle Kingdom Week, and sort of making it something that is potentially going to be an annual thing. I would be very, very surprised if during that Dream Queendom show they don't announce that they are going to have English commentary for the Stardom show on the 3rd. I think is that one New Year Dream? Yes, that one's New Year Dream. The Marigold one's First Dream. So I have a feeling that we could hear Walker on that show as well, which means Walker's going to be a busy guy. Because if he does that, it means he's got commentary on the 29th of December, the 3rd of January, the 4th of January, the 5th of January, and the 6th of January. That is a lot of talking for Walker. So it's a good job he's the Velvet Voice, because he's going to be pushed to the max over those dates. I believe he does commentary for New Texas Pro. I think he has his own, like either he's a partner in a wrestling company, or I don't think he has a wrestling company, but I'm sure he has something in a wrestling company or promotes shows for a wrestling company or something. I don't know when he sleeps. I'll be perfectly honest. Like, when does he sleep? Maybe he'll be able to tell us. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, obviously this is a huge positive. And this is something, and this was really nice. Whenever there are announcements, you're always going to have that inevitable subsection of people that will find the negative about it. Nothing negative about this at all. Absolutely nothing. Overwhelmingly positive. A, because Stardom are finally going to have some English commentary. This will be the first show, of course, since the All-Star Grand Queendom show back in April that actually has English commentary. And that English commentary team, of course, was led by Chris Charlton. And it was Sonny as well, wasn't it? It was Sonny Gutierrez. But the fact that the acceptance of Walker and the fact that there was universal, praise for Walker and his commentary style. And I know that since he replaced Kevin Kelly for New Japan, there's been a lot of positivity around the way that he conducts himself and commentary and the way he's doing the commentary. So very, very, very excited to have Walker on board as the English commentary team. Final thing that I want to talk about in regard to the news is that we have some title matches lined up because, of course, we have this glut of shows and it doesn't end there. Now, this does contain one spoiler for Namba Grand Fight. So if you want to avoid that spoiler, please go on ahead about 2 minutes into the podcast where we begin talking about New Blood. But Stardom did announce that there will be title matches for Korakuen Hall on the 28th of November, New Blood 15, which is going to be on the 29th, the day after. And then in Aichi Dolphin Arena, that Nagoya Golden Fight show, we have got our first two title matches announced for that. So at Korakuen Hall on Saturday, September 28th, there will be a Goddesses of Stardom championship match. The Hate team of Momo Watanabe and Tekla, the champions, making their first title defense, and they will be taking on the challengers Syuri and Saki Kashima. New Blood 15 the day after is going to be in Saitama, and we have got the Future of Stardom championship match with Rina rapidly closing in on 500 days as the Future of Stardom champion. In fact, by the time this episode airs, she might be at 500 days. She is going to be taking on the challenger Aya Sakura in what I assume is going to be the main event. And then in a special singles match, which has also been announced, Hina from God's Eye will be taking on Miyu Amasaki of Neo Genesis. And then we've already talked about this. October 5th, Saturday, Aichi Dolphin Arena, or Aichi Prefectural Gymnasium, as it's also known, Nagoya Golden Fire. We've got two title matches confirmed. The first, the one we've already talked about, the champion Mayu Iwatani making her seventh title defense against the challenger Timeless Toni Storm of AEW for the IWGP Women's Championship. And in, again, what I imagine will be your main event, the World of Stardom Championship on the line. Tam Nakano, there's your spoiler, will make her second championship defense against the challenger Suzu Suzuki of Neo Genesis. Matt, we're going to talk about that specific match a little bit later on because there's lots of parallels to this time last year and how things have changed. So it's going to be interesting to talk about that in a moment. But what are your thoughts about these matches as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, Sherry did a good job setting up the tag match at the Namba Grand Fight pay-per-view, considering the fact the majority of that match we thought would be Sherry versus Konami, but not just yet. Majority of that match, again, we'll get into it at the end of the podcast, was just Sherry and Momo Watanabe hitting each other as hard as humanly possible, which is what we all want. And then and then Sherry grabs the microphone and basically says, "Hey, me and Saki Kashima, we want to challenge Momo Watanabe and Tekla for the Goddess belts, and then I'll come back to you, Sherry, later." So I like how she's putting the focus on her and her tag partner. I like how the fact that she knows she needs to go through Momo Watanabe and Tekla to get to Konami, which is her ultimate revenge. And considering the fact that now that puts a tag title match, a Goddess of Stardom tag match in front of us, the fans win. Obviously, Hina and Aya Sakura, they built up very well over the last 2 weeks, so we knew that was coming. And then you throw in the fact that, yes, we have two championship matches coming up on the next big pay-per-view in the Dolphins Arena. Correct me if I'm wrong, partner. Is there not in the next week or two an artist match with the Work Right Angels of Tam, Soriano, and Natsupoi versus, it's a hate team. I think it's Ruaka, Kamatani, and I think Tora. I thought I read that somewhere just yesterday.
It did. It got announced yesterday. Again, a really, really good match. But I can't remember the actual venue of it. I want to say Hamamatsu, but I think that might be where they won it. If you carry on, Matt, I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, sorry, you just announcing all these championship matches that we have coming up, and I know that was announced as well. 'Cause I believe it was our buddy Steve who sent me an email saying, "Did you see all these matches that are announced?" And I was like, "I actually didn't. Usually Rob's the one that breaks that." So how about that, Steve? You actually scooped Rob for once. But yeah, it's really exciting. We have a lot of shows. I know some of them are VOD, some of them are live. So again, we are going to try to watch them as much as quickly as we can, so we can then come back here and talk about them and then review them. So you're throwing that in, plus the end of the Marigold Dream Star. We are busy, busy boys, as you said, my friend, but in the best possible way. So a lot of super exciting stuff coming up between now and the end of the month that's going to roll over into the October month. So we have championship matches not only on pay-per-view, but basically on the Stardom World shows, and then another New Blood show. Considering the fact we really have not gotten a lot of them. I know we made mention about 2 months ago that they need to do more New Blood shows so they can start defending some of these championships, and then we're getting basically two, not back to back, but two of them, sooner than later. I think that is really, really good stuff there, and the fact that we have a majority of these cards already laid out with some really, really tasty matchups, my friend.
I think as well, just FYI, that match is due to take place on the 22nd of September, Sunday, Yamagata. And as you correctly pointed out, it is Tam Nakano, Natsuko, and Soriano defending the belts against Natsuko Tora, Saya Kamatani, and Ruaka, the challengers. So some really interesting matches. I think what's really interesting, though, is the fact that because you ordinarily defend the two belts on the New Blood shows in the New Blood tag titles and obviously the Future of Stardom Championship, with Rena holding both, you are only going to get one title defense, and I think that is a slight negative of giving Rena both belts. I think we were a little bit shocked that Rena and Azusa Inaba won it, and then Rena retained the future belt against Hina. And this was one of the reasons that I was quite surprised, because it does mean that we're going to continue to only have one title defense, which is a shame. However, we have got a glut of really good shows, and this New Blood 15 show promises to be another really good installment of that series. Speaking of New Blood, Matt, why don't we get into our show review of New Blood 14, the first ever to emanate from Aichi Chunichi Hall. 326 people in attendance, which is the highest since New Blood 11. It's the 10th highest or the 7th lowest, depending on your outlook on life, attendance in New Blood history. So literally middle of the pack. Your results are as follows. So we start with a tag team match. The team of Maika and Rian defeated the Cosmic Angels team of Tam Nakano and Sayaka Kurora. Maika pinning Sayaka Kurora with the Michinoku Driver 2 in 13 minutes and 28 seconds. That was your YouTube free match, by the way. Singles match, Konami defeated Rani Yagami with a buzzsaw kick in 10 minutes and 21 seconds, though, of course, that only tells half the story. In your tag team match next, the EXV team of Hanako and Waka Tsukiyama, who they are giving a lot of victories to, defeated Wingori, Hanan, and Sayurida. I thought that was a massive shock, with Hanako submitting Sayurida with a Shirasagi, which apparently translates to the White Heron. So there you go. The more you know. 14 minutes and 14 seconds. Your tag team main event saw the God's Eye team of Tomoka Inaba and Hina defeat the Neo Genesis team of Starlight Kid and Miyu Amasaki. Tomoka Inaba pinning Miyu Amasaki with the Inaba drop in 12 minutes and 28 seconds. I did like the fact that they built up the Inaba drop ahead of that match with Suzu Suzuki on the next night. And then in your main event, we had the Hate team, or they would be the Hate team. They weren't at this point. Rina and Azusa and defeating the Cosmic Angels team of Yuna Mizumori and Aya Sakura in non-title action. Rina pinning Aya Sakura with the diving double knee drop in 18 minutes and 4 seconds. Matt Turner, I know that you obviously want to talk about the opening match and the main event, but what did you think about this card as a whole? I know that when we previewed it last week, we talked about how this not necessarily suffered, that's the wrong word, but it might struggle due to its lack of title matches. And we actually went through and said, well, why not just make that tag team match the New Blood tag team titles? I mean, you've got the champions in that match. Even without the titles on the line, What did you think of this card?
This was a great show. You had 5 matches, all compacted. Again, this was kind of like your appetizer for the pay-per-view the next day. But as far as like match 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, this might be the best New Blood show they've done. Again, there's 14 of them, so I can't, with everything going on, it kind of gets jumbled. I'd really have to sit down and think about it if you really wanted an answer. But every match was great. I mean, in this opening match, and I think I say it every week, I'm going to say it again. The last handful of months, Stardom does a great job opening these shows with a super hot match. 1, because they give it away free on YouTube, and 2, it's a great way to get the crowd going. And this whole card was great, don't get me wrong, but this opening match was my favorite match of the show. This was absolutely fantastic. I figured you'd get a little tease of Tam and Micah, because we're going to see it in 24 hours. They're going to focus a lot on Rianne and Sayaka Kurora, which they did, but they didn't give us a little bit of Tam and Micah. They gave us a lot.
They did.
I think I text you later on that Friday saying, "Hey, did you get a chance to see this yet?" And you said, "No, but I heard it was really good." I said, if what we got in Tam and Mike in this preview tag is any sort of what we're getting tomorrow, we're in for a treat. And again, we'll get into it at the very end of the show. Boy, howdy, did we get a massive treat from walking the Tam Road and one Micah, not only in this match, but obviously in the main event of the Mamba Grand fight. But this was great. I thought Rianne was terrific. I think she works really well with Micah. From what I understand, as we're recording this, Rianne wrestled Mina, and I got a report saying they went something like 12 or 13 minutes. I was like, ooh, that's really interesting. I don't know the result. Somebody told me that it got more time than you think it would. I'm like, that's good for Rianne, because Rianne is really somebody that's really improving, and she may be fitting into that mold of EXV. I think that's the way they're going with her. Again, Tam and Sayaka Kurora. Sayaka Kurora is another one that is improved by leaps and bounds. And the fact that she's on the middle part of the card, but yet they still find a way to give her something to do to kind of basically flesh out her character a little bit here. And Tam does a great job setting herself up for certain moves. I thought this was a terrific match, but as this card as a whole was great, and this was a great way to start the show with Micah getting the big win, basically building herself up even more for that match with Tam in 24 hours. Again, partner, this was my favorite match of this card. I actually had it 4.25 stars, and this was a great way to start ultimately what was a great compacted professional wrestling show.
Oh yeah, this was about as svelte as a card can be. This absolutely flew by. More than obviously, I do like the fact that they gave us a little bit more of a preview for Micah and Tam, sort of acknowledging the fact that we've got this great match, but with a very limited build. Me and you both thought that this could have been and maybe should have been. We'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. The main event of Sumo Hall, but I do like the fact that they put them on here. But I also like the fact that by proxy, so much light was shed on Sayaka Kurora and Rianne. And I think even though Rianne is, bottom of the totem pole in Stardom and is yet to get a win, there's been a lot of focus put on her, and especially where she's going to end up, which, we now think we know where she is going to go following Namba Grand fight. I think Sayaka Kurora was fantastic in this match. I thought Rianne gave a fantastic account of herself. Micah and Tam, they've been building to this match on and off for what feels like months, back to when Micah was Red Belt champion before the Tora experiment. Overall, again, Matt, complete agreement with you. My favorite match of the show by quite a distance. And again, that's not, it's like I said earlier, that's not a negative on the rest of the matches. That's just a real positive for this match. And when you consider you've got Rianne in this match and Sayaka Kurora in this match, and it was still that good and it wasn't carried by Micah and Tam, that's a really glowing reference for Sayaka Kurora and Rianne. Konami and Rani Yagami. Ultimately, you probably know how this match goes. Konami starts out hot, Rani Yagami starts out hot, Rani Yagami gives a very good of account of herself, gets spray painted in the face, and loses. And that's pretty much the match, Matt, but I'm sure you're going to give it we'll talk about it far more poetically than I've just done.
Yes, well, you just set me up to talk about it better than you, so that's what I'm going to do, buddy. So you set me up for the hot tag. I thought this match was great. I wish they would have kind of went into a little more of the underlining story where Rana Yugami, not only was she the understudy of Sherry, but she was the understudy of Konami as well, because Rana works a very similar style to both Konami and Sherry with that shoot style. They really could have got a lot more momentum out of this. And maybe this is something where they maybe as they're building a little bit, they're getting a little more steam and heat behind the Sherry versus Konami feud, because that has legs to go like 6, 7, 8 months if they wanted to, really. And this is a match they can kind of revisit with Rana Yugami, kind of the up and comer, wanting to basically show her worth in God's eye and the understudy of one of the greatest wrestlers in the history of Stardom and one of the greatest wrestlers in the world today in one Shuri. But I thought this match was great. It's exactly what I thought it was going to be, minus the well, I know it was going to get the interference. We've seen Konami in some of the 5-star matches. She didn't do the interference and the spray paint as much, which made the matches, in my opinion, better. But I get it. She's a heel. It's her gimmick. It is what it is. This match starts out with some great ground grappling between the two. We get some armbar exchanges. Then Konami really brings up to another level. She shows her experiences, face kick. We get some knee strikes. Then eventually, yes, we get the chair shot. We get Shuri was involved in this match quite a bit, like where she's checking in on Rana. She's doing the seconding job. She's seconding Rana. She's giving her advice, and Konami's wanting none of it. Like Konami's, anytime that Shuri is trying to help out Rana and her back is towards Konami, Konami takes a cheap shot at Shuri, and it happened like 2 or 3 times. And I thought it was really cool because you had this really good match. And then in between, you have the buildup of 1, Shuri the mentor, and 2, Konami taking a cheap shot at Shuri to build up their feud. So I thought that was really good. I liked how Konami was very smart on where to put her heat in the match and how, because it got to a point where people were getting ticked off at Konami in the right way, and the crowd was molten hot towards the end of the match for Rana Yugami. One of my notes I have here in parentheses is crowd was red hot for Rana, and that's because, again, 1, Konami knows where to put her heat in. 2, she was taking cheap shots at Sherry, and everybody loves Sherry. And just 3, Rana Yugami selling, and then her comebacks. They were putting really great spots here. Rana Yugami eventually, though, she is able to fire up with a forearm trade off and an armbar. Series of really solid kicks onto Konami. Konami's able to come back with a penalty kick that scores her a 2 count. We do see Konami puts the triangle lancer on. She gets a little bit too cocky with it because Rana rolls her up, and the crowd thought that we were going to see an upset. But eventually, though, it's Konami's able to get out. She hits a German suplex, a ripcord knee, and the head kick for the 3 count. Again, this was a solid match for me. 3 3/4 stars. They did a great job building up the sympathy for Rana Yugami. And they're also being able to tell that story of Konami versus Sherry. So this got a lot done, minus the spray paint, whatnot. And again, I get that because we're building heat. We had a lot of sympathy on Rana Yugami. We even got more after this match. So ultimately, excellent match. 3 3/4 stars for me. I would love to see them run it back maybe in a year or so when Rana Yugami even has more experience as even a better wrestler than we see now.
Yeah, this was here primarily to continue to build not only the feud between Konami and God's Eye, but also Konami and Syuri. And I think it did a really good job of that. It did what it needed to do. Am I ever going to like the spray paint? No, I think it's a stupid weapon. I've got into a lot of detail about that. But, that aside, I think it did what it needed to do. This is actually, for me, one of Konami's better singles matches since the turn. And I think a lot of credit needs to go to Rana Yugami for that because, wrestling, you can only do so much on your own. You require a good dance partner for this to become a really, really, really good match. And I think Rana more than gave her all in this match, more than gave more. What's the phrase I'm looking for? Gave as good as she got. That's the one I'm looking for in this match. And credit to her. I think her improvement is something that has really, really, really been a positive for Stardom over the last couple of months. EXV and Wingori, to start with, I can't quite believe that the team of Hanako and Wakasukiyama defeated Wingori. Not in a bad way. I think this was another really good match. They're obviously building Hanako massively, between this and then the victory at Namba Grand Fight, obviously really bigging her up. And I wonder whether, obviously they've given her and Waka a lot of tag team victories, whether they are being lined up as the next New Blood challengers, or whether Hanako is being established as a threat to the future of Stardom title, because much as I'd love to see Aya Sakura get that big singles victory over Rina, I am far less certain of that happening than I was that Hina was going to win it. And then obviously I know Hina lost, but there we are. Do you feel the same way about Hanako, or do you think it is just a case of she's come back, we're going to showcase her for a little bit, and then sort of put her back down to where she was? Or do you think that there is going to be a maintained push for Hanako? Because I think with the new gimmick, the new sort of attitude, the new move set to a certain degree as well, the JP coaster into that Sirasagi, I think Hanako could be a very, very dominant Future of Stardom champion. In the same vein, I know that Ami Sourei didn't hold the belt for very long, but she felt quite imperious as a champion. I think Hanako could do the same thing.
You know what, partner? I didn't even look at it like that. As far as, you made a lot of good points, a lot to unpack here. As far as Hanako's, where they're going to push her and then bring her back down, again, she's not going to be pushed to beat Mayu, right?
No,
you're going to push her. You're going to push her a little bit, and as you always say that from what Chris Jericho always says, you push everybody to get over, nobody gets over. But I like this little push that she's getting, and I think what they're doing is let's try something out. She had great matches over in America. Again, we had all these new eyes, fresh eyes on her. She comes back, new outfit, new gear, took the Natsupoi tonic water. I think that's what we're going to call it now. Her hair wind up growing 6 or 7 inches almost overnight. Looks completely different in a good way. Fresh coat of paint. She's a fantastic wrestler. We're putting more of a focus on her. Again, we're pushing some of the underneath talent just to see what they can do. Let's give them the ball for a little bit. And let's see them if they can score some points for us. New look for Waka, the new gold gear from Waka. She looked terrific. These two as a team, and we saw them team up before in some of these new blood shows, and we're like, oh, for an underneath team, by no means are they FWC, by no means are they Crazy Star, but for an underneath team, they're really, really capable. And I would like to see this team in the Goddess of Stardom tag tournament. Again, they're not going to have a whole bunch of wins, but at the same time, they can get really a lot of experience. You throw that all into consideration, you're like, okay, maybe they're probably going to be part of the Goddess tournament. But considering the fact that we would have thought maybe a month ago that, okay, if they're in the tournament, maybe they'll get 1 win, maybe 1 draw. This team can have like 3 or 4 wins because they're getting wins here, and they're getting wins over Wingori. And I know about a month or so ago, me and you were talking about potentially what the Goddess of Stardom tournament can look like. And me and you both think that Wingori would go really far in the tournament and possibly win it. Now, I know there's no teams that are announced as of just yet. We'll probably get that sooner than later. But like considering the fact that Wingori is a very well pushed tag team, and the fact that Hanan has won the Cinderella tournament, and the fact that she made the semifinals of the 5-star Grand Prix, and the fact that Saida's stock went up a whole bunch after the 5-star. This is their first match together as a team after the 5-star, where again, both these wrestlers were elevated, and rightfully so, where they lose. I was like, as much as I don't want to see Wingori lose, big fan of this team, I get it. And it's cool because it's something different. You can't have the favorite win all the time. You have to have some upsets that happen every now and again just to shake things up and to give newer wrestlers a push. Now Hanako and Waka, who we all love Waka, God bless her. They've been start and stop with her so much since she first pinned Nanae Takahashi a few years ago. Now they're giving her something to do. Again, new look. Her and Hanako are great as a team. Hanako, new look, coming back from the States. And this is something that they can do if they don't have plans for Hanako for a month. Send her over to Waka. Waka speaks phenomenal English, as we know. She's so charismatic. She's so engaging with the crowd. You can put these two in a tag team and send them over to the States for 3, 4, 5 weeks like they did with Hanako. This was a great match. Surprise ending. Really liked it. Again, you're doing something different. We're taking the younger talent that doesn't get a lot of wins, and we're giving them wins over an established tag team like Wingori. 3 3/4 stars for me, my friend. I really like the finish. And again, the fact that we're pushing different talent other than the same old, this is really, really good. I'm really interested to see what they're going to do with Hanako. Next point that you made, my man. Yeah, I did not see it. I didn't even think about Hanako winning the Future Stardom Championship. That makes perfect sense. That even if they hot potato and go from Rina to Aya, have Aya maybe have a V1, V2, and then drop it to Hanako, or they can have Hanako be the one to end the big streak of Rina. That works as well. And then you give Hanako a long championship run here. Regardless, I think it all works. I'm super excited to see what happens. And again, credit onto the new booking committee from Stardom to do some new things with some wrestlers that are really proving their worth, my friend.
Moving on, God's Eye, Tomoka Inaba and Hina versus Starlight Kid and Miyu Amasaki. Really good match. Starlight Kid trying to court Tomoka Inaba for Neo Genesis. Now, aside from the fact that Tomoka Inaba doesn't quite fit the vibe of Neo... Well, I say that. Suzu Suzuki didn't really fit the vibe of Neo Genesis either, did she really? But there we are. The fact that we are trying to court Tomoka Inaba, the fact that Tomoka Inaba then doubled down on her allegiance to God's Eye, and then obviously what happens post-main event. Do we think, Matt, that Stardom are slowly but surely moving towards signing the Inaba sisters? And, well, that's my question. Do we think they're moving closer towards it?
To quote Stone Cold Steve Austin, oh, hell yeah. Yeah, it really, really seems it, and we hope that, again, we mentioned we want them to sign Tomoka ASAP, but obviously Azusa as well. But if we're just taking one step at a time, let's get Tomoka and then Azusa. But if this is something where it's like they're sisters, we have them here, we have them in part of factions, let's just get a deal done. And maybe that might be part of the deal. Won't Tomoka want her younger sister to be in the same company with her? We saw what they did in Just Tap Out, right, as a team and as opponents. And obviously they're getting better all the time because they're so young and so good. And then the fact that you're going to put them in the biggest Joshi company in Japan, wrestling against the best roster, yeah, that's going to make sense. Again, maybe I didn't want to be too greedy by like saying just get Tomoka. But if we're going to get Tomoka and Azusa, yes, please. I'm all for that, regardless of where Tomoka ends up, right, with what faction. She needs to, in my opinion, she needs to stay in God's Eye. One, she fits the mold of God's Eye. Two, Shuri needs that like second main eventer. All these factions, for the longest time, have always had more than one main eventer. You know, DDM always they had Shuri and Julia, right? And then, you know, Mike and Himika. Queen's Quest always had Momo, Tommy, Sai. You always have more than one main eventer. Where we're seeing here ever since, and we made a mention about a month or so ago when Konami turned, it's like you don't have that second main eventer outside of Shuri. And we knew that when Tomoka came into Stardom for some shots back 2 years ago, and her and Shuri were a tag team in the Goddess of Stardom tournament back in 2022 as Karate Brave, you're like, ooh, if they sign her full time, that can be like the next main eventer, like underneath Shuri. Obviously, Tomoka's way better now, and she was great 2 years ago. She's fantastic. Great run in the tournament. So, again, I think she should stay in God's Eye. But regardless, as long as they sign her, I don't care if she goes to EXV. I don't care if she comes out dancing with Cosmic Angels, and at the end of the dance, she kicks chairs. Like, I don't care where she goes. Just sign Tomoka Inaba. But obviously, you know, if she's going to sign, and she may be signed, we don't know. Fingers crossed that her and her sister are. She needs to stay in God's Eye because, again, one, they need the major talent. Two, she fits that mold really well with God's Eye. And I think what this match was more than anything, Rob, is Starlight Kid was trying to court Tomoka Inaba to be part of Neo Genesis. But Tomoka is going to be like, you know, she doubled down saying, no. I think what they're going to do here, and hopefully this is what they do, is Starlight Kid pokes the bear a little bit too much. And Tomoka Inaba, like, not snaps, but it's like, okay, like, clearly you want me to be here. Let me show you what I can do. And we get like a mini feud with Tomoka and Starlight Kid because the exchanges that we got in this match were brief, but they were fantastic. And Starlight Kid, let's keep building her up. Let's keep building Tomoka Inaba up. They're the young talent that we know can go. I think what they're doing here, and I'm going to throw this back to you, is with Starlight Kid trying to get Tomoka to come in Neo Genesis, I think what they're doing is they're going to build up a rivalry between Starlight Kid and Tomoka. That's what I saw. Let me know what you think, buddy.
I agree with you. I think if you are going to put a focus on Tomoka and Inaba, the most over person, in my opinion, in the company at the moment, or at least one of the top two, is Starlight Kid. You want to put more of a focus on her. You want to showcase what she can do. We've just seen her have a fantastic singles match with Suzu Suzuki. For my mind, the best Suzu Suzuki singles match since she returned from injury. So why not put her with Starlight Kid? And I think giving her that storyline before you push her into, you know, looking for title belts. Again, this is all completely subjective, dependent on whether they sign. Obviously, if they haven't signed, then all of this is irrelevant. But I do think a match with Starlight Kid is only going to benefit. A mini feud is only going to benefit. And I think we'll see a lot of focus if she signs on Tomoka Inabu, because she is a very, very, very special talent, as is her sister as well. Moving on then to our main event, then Rina and the sister Azusa Inaba defeating Cosmic Angels. Azusa Inaba now, Matt, a fully fledged member of Hate. I think we all saw this coming, or at least we're not surprised by it happening anyway, are we?
No, and just real quick, that last match with Starlight Kid and Miyu versus Tomoka and Hina, I gave it 4.25 stars. I liked it almost as much as the opening tag. But yes, Azusa Inabe, now officially a member of Hate. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that maybe they can stop teasing some of these other members of the Stardom roster going over to Hate. Yeah. Now they have another member. Because, again, we'll get into it when we talk about the main crux of this next show. But I think she fits in really well. Her and Rina as a tag team are absolutely terrific. I would like, again, this is another team I would love to see in the Goddess of Stardom tournament. We've only seen Rina and Azusa team a handful of times, and they haven't been wrestling the crazy stars. They haven't been wrestling the eye contacts, the Wingories, the FWCs. Well, actually, I think they did wrestle Wingor. Regardless, irrelevant. You know what I mean? If you put them in the Goddess of Stardom tournament, they're going to be wrestling the best of the best. And I think Rina, with maybe her dropping the Future Stardom Championship sometime soon, they can put more of a focus on this team because they are great together. Obviously, Yuna Mizumori, again, one of the most improved wrestlers we've seen over the last 2 years. And Aya Sakura, they did a great job making this match build up to the next New Blood show, which is Aya challenging Rina for the Future Stardom Championship. And I do like it how Rina did get her win back from Korakuen Hall, and a lot of it was set up from her tag partner in Azusa. Excellent match, a great way to end, which was a small, compacted, really good show. You only had 5 matches. Every match was great. Every match had underlining storylines, building things up. And this was no different. Rina getting the win with a diving knee bomb. I had this at 4 stars, my friend. Again, 5 matches, all really, really good. And just a terrific job from Stardom, able to kind of build things up in this. And then as we move on to the ginormous show from the next day.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Obviously, we talked about the fact that would this show not necessarily struggle, but would this show still have the same amount of punch because it didn't have title matches? Well, it did have Micah, Tam, Starlight Kid. We did have a lot of big talent on that show, the Inaba sisters. So I think it did pay dividends because it was a really enjoyable show. Yes, ultimately, no title matches. Yes, ultimately, no massive storyline moves forward anyway. But as a standalone wrestling show, it's incredibly fun. And we got people like Rina, Aya Sakura, Sayaka Kurora, Rian. We got this talent over, which is what the New Blood brand is looking to do. What I would want now is eventually to get to a point where it doesn't rely on the likes of Starlight Kid and people like that. You know, you can rely on your army of rookies, your army of undercard people, giving them the sort of exposure and things that they deserve. Anyway, that being said, let's move on, Matt, to the main event of today's show, and that is the Namba Grand Fight Review, Saturday, the 14th of September, from Edion Arena, Osaka. 1,407 people in attendance. They've run the venue 8 times. This was the 4th highest. It's the highest this year, having beaten out the 13th anniversary Supreme Fight show, which was main evented by Micah versus Saya Kamatani. If you remember that far back, good grief, how different that is. But that was 1,377 people, so 40 more people in attendance here. The card and results are as follows. So we open with a singles match. Xena defeating Rian with the pop-up German suplex in 8 minutes and 6 seconds. Saya Kamatani defeated Mina Shirakawa with a rope-assisted backslide in 10 minutes and 58 seconds. In a tag team match, the EXV team of Hanako and Waka Tsukiyama defeated the God's Eye team of Rani Yagami and Hina. Hanako submitting Hina with the Shirasagi in 8 minutes and 3 seconds. 8-woman tag team match, the Cosmic Angels team of Saori Aya Sakura, Sayaka Kurora, and Yuna Mizumori defeated the Hate team of Natsuko Tora, Ruaka, and Rina, and Azusa and Namba, with Aya Sakura submitting the Future of Stardom champion with the Triangle Choke in 11 minutes and 56 seconds. The 6-woman tag match that followed saw the Neo Genesis team of Starlight Kid and Mace and Pro Wrestling Waves Kohaku defeating the Stars team of Koguma, Saida, and Momo Kogo, with Kohaku getting the pin with, and this is what it is directly translated by from the Stardom site. I don't know if this is what it's actually called. The Direct Teaching W-Arm T. Okay,
I'm writing that down. Teaching, whatever. All right, go ahead.
In 8 minutes and 41 seconds, anyway. Another 6-woman tag saw the Hate team of Momo Watanabe, Tekla, and Konami defeat the God's Eye team of Shiori Kashima and Lady C. Konami getting the pinfall with the buzzsaw kick in 12 minutes and 4 seconds. In a singles match, Suzu Suzuki defeated Tomoka Inaba with a German suplex in 13 minutes and 10 seconds. Tag team action, the Eye Contact team of Mayu Iwatani and Hanan defeated the O2 line team of Azumi and Miyu Amasaki, with Hanan getting the pinfall over Miyu Amasaki with a backdrop hold. Wonder of Stardom Championship match. We don't need to talk about that. Natsupoi defeated Hazuki with the Fairy Magic in 19 minutes and 8 seconds, but whatever.
I'm going to make you feel better, buddy. When we get there, I'm going to make you feel better. What was the time on the tag match and the Wonder match? I'm sorry, buddy.
Tag match is 14:23. Oh, I don't want to talk about the Wonder match. Please
don't worry, buddy. I'm going to make you feel better. Your Uncle MT's guy. When have I ever, in the 3 years that we've been doing this, when have I ever let you down? I'm going to make you feel good, buddy. You don't worry about it. Uncle MT's got you. What was the time on Natsupoi and Hazuki's phenomenal match?
19 minutes and 8 seconds.
I thought you were going to whisper Tom's Tundra. The way you're talking, I think it's Tom's Tundra.
It's my phone sex voice. And then the World of Stardom Championship match.
I thought that was just for Patreon anyway.
Never. I'd never stop our free fans hearing the sex voice.
Oh my goodness. We know what Rob's side job is.
Tam Nakano, the champion, defeated the 5-star Grand Prix winner Micah with the Twilight Dream in 22 minutes and 32 seconds. Much as I am joking about the Natsupoi and Hazuki results, I am devastated that Hazuki didn't win. It is a tremendous match. Got lots to say about that match. I thought Tam and Micah were brilliant. The tag match was fantastic between Eye Contact and O2 Line, which again just goes to show the depth in this tag team division that we are blessed with. Suzu Suzuki, as I've already said, I genuinely think that this match with Tomoka Inaba is her best match since she returned from injury in May. And then even on the undercard, I thought Rian had a really good showing against Xena. I thought that even though, if we're being brutally honest, the Saya Kamatani and Mina Shirakawa match was never going to measure up to their matches in that fantastic 2022-2023 feud, it was, both women are in completely different places now. I still think it played to both women's character and worked really well. Another fantastic win for Hanako and Waka Tsukiyama. Matt, I thought this was a really, really, really solid card and a really enjoyable card as well, even if it was a bit long.
Yeah, again, considering the fact that I watched the show on about 45 minutes worth of sleep, and I was like, let me just see. And they started out really well with Sai and Mina, and again, we knew when we previewed this, and you just said it, partner. We know it was going to be good as their 3-match series that they had from 2022 to 2023. That's just unfair, right? That's just unfair. And I thought maybe this might have been a little bit of a missed opportunity for Stardom to showcase Mina and Saya, again, considering the fact that Mina has been over here in the States and getting over like crazy with the AEW crowd. And she was over your neck of the woods and won the some British gold over there, which by the way, should have been the name of a metal album, right? Like Judas Priest, British Gold, right? Anyway, another story for another day. But I thought there would have been a really good showcase to showcase Saya Kamatani. This match was a very 1980s, 1990s American-style TV match where Mina was the clear babyface, Saya was the clear heel, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But I wish they would have showcased a little bit more of 5-star Saya, like Golden Phoenix Saya that we saw in the Micah match, that we saw in the Starlight Kid match, that we saw in the two Hana matches, and the Suzuki. I think they would have, again, considering the fact, partner, that they gave this match away free on YouTube, which, again, I thought was absolutely genius because you're trying to hook more people in and the AEW fan base in, and, they know who Mina is now. And, again, she's over with that fan base. And the fact that you're putting Mina up against, in my opinion, the wrestler she's had the best matches with. And she had great matches with Tam, and she's had great matches with certain other wrestlers, don't get me wrong. But again, those series of matches with Kamatani are on a completely different level. I thought that maybe if they would have just let Saya do a little bit more of the Golden Phoenix stuff to play towards maybe the strengths of the selling that is Mina, they would have gotten a little more out of it. Regardless, that's me kind of just splitting hairs. I had this one at 3 3/4 stars. Again, a solid way to start the show. Wish they would have given a little bit more, but it does look like they're going somewhere with this because, again, Saya, she cheated to win. The fact that there was promos afterwards, again, not only in the ring but backstage as well, and then Mina was on commentary and she was talking about it. Again, if this is kind of just the building blocks to a feud that we're going to get with Mina versus Saya, and as you said, they're in different places. Again, Mina has just completely evolved her character and her wrestling, considering the fact that, again, she's worldwide Mina now, and Saya is in this dark Phoenix Queen. Again, the fact I didn't think this was going to work, and I was wrong, and I'll admit that I'm wrong every time on this podcast because I'm loving what they're doing with Saya Kamatani. Again, just let her, be a little bit 5-star Saya here, and I think you'll get more out of the matches. But great way to start this show. And as you mentioned just a little bit ago, partner, this was a kind of a long show. Again, the fact I'm running on a little bit less than an hour of sleep, I started fading just a little bit, and then Suzu and Tomoka were about 4 or 5 minutes in, and then I'm not gonna lie, I went to the gym right after the show because I was so pumped about how great those last 4 matches were. So that just goes to show you how great the show was. The fact that, again, I'm running on next to no sleep, very little energy, but this the great wrestling that I saw here was able to get the adrenaline to go through my 42-year-old body. But I just want to get, before we talk about the majority of the show, buddy, what did you think of Saya and Mina? Do you think I kind of have a point there where I think it was a missed again, it was a great match, kind of a missed opportunity considering the fact you're getting this free on YouTube and you're trying to pull more of the American audience in? I think they should have been more. Saya should have been able to, again, be more of the Golden Phoenix that we saw in the 5-star mixed with the Phoenix Queen.
I think Saya's in the unfortunate position where she's not going to win either way. People want the Golden Phoenix Saya, people want her to be more of a heel. I quite liked it because, for a start, her facial expressions are absolutely fantastic. Just the over-comical villain just really does make me laugh, especially after she was pretending to be injured after the final pinfall and then laughing to the camera. I thought that was brilliant. And I think the fact as well, at the moment, you compare Mina Shirakawa now to Mina Shirakawa in 2022-23. Mina Shirakawa at the moment, it feels like more of an attraction. Still a fantastic wrestler. As we saw once Saya Kamatani really began pressing her buttons, you could see her really beginning to get annoyed by it. But at the moment, I feel like it is very much more about the Mina Shirakawa character than it is about her wrestling ability. She's still a phenomenal wrestler. That's not what I'm saying. Okay, but it's more about the Mina Shirakawa character than it is about the wrestler. And I think both women are more character-driven now, more character-based, more gimmick-based, if you will, than they are wrestling-based. And that's not to say when they get the tap on the shoulder, they don't deliver fantastic matches. Saya Kamatani towards the end of the 5-star Grand Prix is the perfect example of that. However, as I mentioned before, they're in different positions now. They're in different places now than they were when they first started and first feuded with each other. So I think, yes, with it being on YouTube, potentially you could have had them have more of a knockout, drag-out brawl. Okay. But I think you are ultimately playing for the long haul. You want Saya Kamatani to perfect this heel character. And I think towards the end of this match, we saw a pretty good indication of what this character is going to look like. And I'm more than happy with that. I think that was the main focus for this match, more than it was the history that we've seen between these two before.
Well put, buddy. I like the way that you put that. Yeah, really good. And again, consider hopefully this is just the building blocks to them for a feud. Again, maybe this is, hey, we gave this away for free. We gave you just a taste. If you want to see how this is going to unfold, then you're going to have to subscribe to Stardom World. You're going to have to subscribe to the or buy the pay-per-views. And again, the fact that we have English commentary on these pay-per-views to add more context to the wrestling, that might be the way that they're going. And I have no problem with that. But yeah, a good solid way to start the show. Again, considering the fact that you have the greatest Wonder of Stardom champion of all time, in my opinion, Saya Kamatani, and then again, a global superstar that is terrific on every level that is pro wrestling, like Mina Shirakawa in your opener. Not a bad way to start the show, my friend. There's a reason why this thing drew over 1,400 people.
Now, Matt, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to stop you there. I cannot believe that you've done Rhiannon and Xena dirty there by
I apologize.
Completely ignoring them. Honestly, Matt, the disrespect shown to Rhiannon and Xena there is honestly unbelievable. How dare you?
How dare I, sir? And I tell you what, that was a solid match. Again, Rhiannon is terrific. Xena, again, probably the most improved wrestler this year in wrestling, and considering the fact that we still have 3 months to go. Really good, solid outing again for kind of your pre-show match. This was exactly what we thought it was going to be, and the fact that Xena did win with that pop-up German that I've been putting over huge since the middle of the 5-star Grand.
You do love that pop-up German.
I do. Again, you should always win with your coolest move, and I think the Thunderstruck is great, and I like how she's been doing different versions of it, especially on the wrestlers that she can kind of overpower, which is a lot because Xena's, her strength game is unbelievable. But considering the fact that Rhiannon probably weighs like 90 pounds soaking wet, that the German suplex looked really, really cool the way that she was able to stack her. So again, great stuff from Xena. We know there's going to be some big things planned for Xena moving forward. And again, we know that considering the fact that Cork and Hall 2 weeks ago, we had the old TLD in the main event. We know they're eventually going to run back Xena for the high-speed championship against one May Sarah. So apologies. I did not mean to do that. I just really wanted to talk to you about Saya Kamatani and Mina Shirakawa. Good sir.
Well, it's not me. I have to apologize to Matt Turner. Also, I think you summed that up perfectly. It was a really good match. Again, more good exposure for Rhiannon. Xena has become like Mrs. Dependable, where you just put her in the ring with anyone, you know it's going to be a fantastic match, and credit to her because she is one of the people I enjoy watching the most at the moment in Stardom. It does look like Rhiannon is going to be joining EXV. If you look at the cards that have been announced for this week, she's almost exclusively either fighting against EXV or with EXV. She's had the singles match with Mina Shirakawa today. I think she's got Micah tomorrow in a singles match as well. So I think it's only a matter of time. Obviously, Xena was talking about, welcome to EXV when she brought her in. So all of these things, I think, are basically coming together to have have Rhiannon in EXV. A solid match, definitely. EXV then, talking about EXV, Hanako and Waka Tsukiyama against God's Eye. What were your thoughts on this, Matt?
Again, another solid outing for Hanako and Waka, really getting some more wins. We're building more wins up. Hina and Ranu Yugami, they work really well as a team. It really seems like these newer members of God's Eye, obviously Hina and Lady C, they just joined in the middle of the summer after the breakup of Queen's Quest. They work really well together. There was some great exchanges with Rana and Hanako. So some solid stuff there. Again, Waka, new look, fresh coat of paint. I like the fact that we're building her up. We're getting her some wins. Not only these tag matches, but in a lot of these multi-person matches they were doing the past few months on the Stardom World shows, Waka was getting her hand raised quite a bit. So I like the fact that we're getting some wins under Waka's belt. But ultimately, I think with this weekend, one of the main crux probably on the booking sheet of Tara Okada was to make sure that Hanako looks really, really good in these matches. And she did. And considering the fact that we told a lot of stories, and we have a lot of stories coming up in the pipe, for the next few months on as far as the Wonder belt goes and the IWGP belt goes and the Red belt goes. The fact that it looked like that Hanako was something that they targeted probably on the booking sheet to make sure that we're building her up properly. Again, just still goes to show you just how well-rounded, the booking has been in Stardom these last few months. Yeah, solid outing. I had it at 3.25 stars. Really, really good stuff here.
Okay, so moving on from that really good performance, especially from Hina and Hanako. For me, their exchanges were the highlight of that, and it's nice to see as well. Just sort of going back to this, it's nice to see that even though Hina lost in the lost the Future of Stardom Championship, she's still getting the sustained push that she was getting throughout that tour, and I think that's really good as well because her and Hanako had some really, really good exchanges. Cosmic Angels then of Sayori Ano, Aya Sakura, Sayaka Kurora, and Yuna Mizumori defeating the Hate Team, and Aya Sakura getting another victory over the Future of Stardom champion, Matt.
Again, this was another solid outing, but the main crux of this was we're building to Aya and Rina. Rina won the night before. Aya gets another win. What I thought was really cool as this match was going towards the end, Soriano was directing traffic. Basically, she was like, you take this person out, you take this person out, you take this person out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all like, we're going to focus on Rina. And once all the members of Cosmic Angels took Azusa, Ruaka, and Tora out, it was Soriano would hit something, Sakakura would hit something, Yuna would hit, and you would see her like literally pointing, directing traffic, like boom, 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 boom. And that led to Rina being just about done. Aya hits a brutal head kick and then locks in the triangle choke. And I like the finish. I like the way this match was built. And again, I like Soriano almost as like, okay, right, there's no Tam, there's no Natsupoi here. I'm the leader of this group that going into this match, and I'm calling the plays, and the plays that she called, especially towards the end, is what helped the Cosmic Angels not only win, but help Aya Sakura get another win over the Future of Stardom champion. Really, really good stuff. Solid match. Love the finish. Now the fact that Aya Sakura has this great triangle choke and that she's using a head kick to set it up. I'm all for that, buddy. Again, somebody that likes the shoot style of wrestling. The fact we're getting a big head kick leading into submission for a finish. I hope Aya sticks with that. Great match. 3.5 stars for me, buddy.
Moving on, then, what did you think of Kohaku's main roster? I say main roster debut like it's WWE, but she's only ever taken part on New Blood cards before. Obviously, came out here with Starlight Kid and Mei Seira, and aside from obviously the incredibly emotional and expressive and compelling dance-off between Starlight Kid and Koguma, I feel like Kohaku was the focus. And what were your thoughts on her?
Yeah, absolutely. And considering the fact that most of these factions, they have like an even number of wrestlers. So this way, when they tag up, you have your certain tag people that are tagged up. Like obviously in Stars, you have Wingori, you have Eye Contact, and then you have FWC. So like those are kind of your 6. Where again, as we're kind of getting closer to the Goddess of Stardom tournament, there's 5 people in Neo Genesis, and we're kind of figuring out who's going to be somebody they're going to bring in or somebody that's not going to be in the tournament. And considering the fact that you're right that they put a focus on Kohaku and she got the win here. Not only does she have the majority of the crux of the match, she gets the win here again on a big pay-per-view that has 2 big main event matches in front of over 1,400 people. It really seems like that maybe she's might be the 6th person or like the person that basically the satellite member of this Neo Genesis. I thought that she fit in well. I've only seen her wrestle a few times before. I thought she did very well with Starlight Kid and Mei Seira, considering the fact they work a way different style than she does with the high-speed action. But Starlight Kid and Mei made it work. That just goes to show you how great of wrestlers they are. Obviously, Momo Kogo, she's terrific. Koguma, her comedic stuff with Starlight Kid and the beginning of the match was great. Saida just chopping down trees left and right. But yeah, you're absolutely right, buddy. This match was to highlight Kohaku, and that to me means like they have plans for her somewhere in the future. Solid outing, 3.25 stars, and it's be interesting to see if Neo Genesis gets a new member.
Yeah, interesting indeed. They did seem to be very, very in on Kohaku, and obviously I think she did quite well as well in this match. Last sort of undercard match then, if you will, the 6-woman that saw Hate versus God's Eye. Again, built around Syuri and Konami, but also we got our Goddess of Stardom Championship match, which we talked about a little bit earlier. Matt, the most important thing though, will Saki Kashima and Lady C ever get along?
Yeah, that's kind of funny. You throw that comedic thing in there to start, and then it's like the bell rings and you get a wild brawl. considering the fact that you have 3 or more violent wrestlers on the opposite side with Momo Watanabe, Konami, and Tekla, right? So it's like you kind of have that. It's like you can see they're kind of eyeing each other up, almost like as if they're playing up for Sherry's love. It's almost like 2 sons trying to figure out who dad loves better. You know, I thought that was kind of an interesting, funny dynamic. And then the bell rings, and then hate and care less. Like, we don't care if you're getting along. We're here to kick some ass, and that's basically what they did in the match. And a lot of people thought the majority of this match was going to be building towards Sherry and Konami. And they did a little, but it wasn't. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because a lot of this match, at least the way I looked at it, was Sherry versus Momo Watanabe. And I'm like, okay, like, I love me some Konami, but Sherry and Momo Watanabe, anytime over the last 3 years we see these two in tag matches opposite of each other, wailing on each other, I'm sure me, you, and everybody else that loves Stardom, you get flashbacks of that fantastic 5-star final Grand Prix from 2021. And that's what this was. I was like, oh boy. I'm like, yeah, Konami, you can wait. We'll eventually get there. And again, I think that's going to be a long feud with Sherry and Konami, and I'm all for that. I love to see them have a long played out feud, with some storytelling in there. And again, both these wrestlers are great. Sure, Lady T played her role really well. Saki Kashima is always great because she gets the butt kicking and then almost gets the win at the end with the Kishi Kasai. But there's no ref. They pull the ref out. Eventually, we do get a back shot from Momo Watanabe. Konami hits a German, and then a buzzsaw kick to put away Saki Kashima. And then at the end, you can just see that Sherry's had enough between what happened the night before with her keep getting blindsided in the match with Konami and Ronnie Yagami, and the fact that they're taking basically Sherry's kind of protector in God's eye and Saki Kashima. The fact that they took her out with a bat shot, and then Konami violently put Saki Kashima away, I thought was a really good storytelling. And again, I don't speak Japanese, but I can tell when Sherry took that microphone, I was like, oh boy, howdy. She's in a different level of pissed off, and she's the last person in this company you want ticked off. And you can just tell on that promo that she's not here for games anymore. And the fact that Momo Watanabe and Tekla are next, they did a great job in one match building towards a V1 defense that we're getting on a Stardom World show. This was my favorite match of these underneath matches. I had it 3 3/4 stars. Again, not only was it a fun match, it was a wild match. We had Momo and Sherry destroying each other. Great finish. You're taking the finish away from Saki Kashima, with Hate doing what they do best, pulling the referee and doing some cheating. And now we're building to not only a tag match, but a tag match. Again, notice I love me some Tekla. I love me some Saki Kashima. I'm sure they're going to be great in the match. But we're building to a tag match that's got Momo Watanabe on one side and Sherry on the other. Not only that, but a pissed off Sherry. So I'm really looking forward to the Goddess match. Again, great job building up a tag match that we're getting on Stardom World, brother.
And I assume that you are of the belief that the Hate team are certainly coming out on top here. I personally cannot see any way in which God's Eye win this, personally.
No, but they've done a great job of hot potatoing belts over the last couple of months. That when the Kishi Kasai gets hit, you and me know we're both going to bite on it, buddy. And that is the genius part of some of this booking. Good, bad, or indifferent, whether we like it or not, we're biting on certain things. Again, remember, I thought Natsupoi was going to turn on Tam during that title match because she was waiting to hit the splash on the outside. I'm like, oh my God, this is what we're doing. And even again, we're going to get into it in these last couple of matches. We got 2 new members teased possibly joining Hate. Again, we'll get into it, my man. But yeah, let's get into these last 4 matches, because boy howdy, this is where, again, what was a solid show really just took this into another level with the Suzu versus Tomoka match.
You're telling me. And I think this was actually some good groundwork laid by New Blood in building up the power of the Inaba drop. Because when Tomoka Inaba finally hits the Inaba drop, she's had that much taken out of her by Suzuki that she's not able to make the pin. This match was everything. When it was announced, it was everything. This was everything I wanted it to be. We just talked about Syuri and Momo Watanabe kicking 7 shades out of each other. And here we have the exact same thing. 2 really, really brutal strikers. Suzu, who's willing to put her body through pretty much anything, having this fantastically aggressive match. And as I've already said multiple times now, is Suzu the same Suzu Suzuki that won the 5-star Grand Prix in 2023? I don't think any Stardom fan can honestly say, yes, I think she is a different character. I think she's obviously the injury and things like that. I think all of the uncertainty around the red belt really hurt her in 2023. However, she's starting to come back to that Suzu that we expect. And this was a huge highlight for me. The fact that Suzu Suzuki was back to that Suzu that we remember. And her and Tomoka Inaba put on an absolute beasting clinic. And I loved it, Matt.
A great question. Is Suzu the same person she was after she won the 5? No, Rob, she's a year older. Come on, buddy.
There you go. That's the end of the podcast. There you go. How'd you come back from that?
No, you made a great point, and I know when you were running down the results, and I know me and you were talking, like texting back and forth, you made mention this is Suzu's best singles match since she's come back from injury. And you know what? I'm not going to agree or disagree with you. I mean, this one was great, but I mean, let's give credit where credit's due. The Hanan match from the playoff was really good, and the Saya Kamatani match was excellent as well as this one. You can kind of split hairs there, and yeah, considering the fact that she won the 5-star, she's supposed to have that match with Tam. It never happened, which would have been a big match for her. Winning the 5-star and then wrestling a big star like Tam, goes to the main event of Dream Queendom, has a phenomenal match with Micah, loses there. We're kind of start and stop with her again. You lose the red belt match. We have to cool you down a little. Her and May Sarah have a small but yet a really good run with the Goddess of Stardom Tag Team Championship. Again, that match with FWC, one of the best tag matches I've seen all year, back in May. And then it's just like, yeah, she's injured. She comes back. Obviously when you're injured, you're whatever body part you injured or however you're injured, you're going to kind of have in the back of your head, like, I don't want to be injured again. So how do I kind of move some of my moveset, or how do I take care of myself? And considering the fact when she came back, she's thrust right into the 5-star, where she's wrestling Hanan, where she's wrestling Saya Kamatani, where she's wrestling some really, really excellent matches with some great wrestlers. And it's just like, okay, I can kind of understand where maybe some of those matches she didn't have the gas on 100%. But again, that match with Kamatani was terrific. The second match with Hanan was really good. Even the opening night match with Hanan with the double countout was really good, where it's like you get into this match here, and I think a lot of people thought Tomoka was going to win, or at least maybe go to the TLD. But the way this match was really built, the way to start getting going, and I made this mention before when we talked about some of Tomoka's matches in the 5-star Grand Prix, that Tomoka's grappling is just as good as her striking, which is saying something here. Obviously, the striking is the stuff that gets looked at a lot because it's something really, really cool. But Tomoka's grappling, especially in that match with Tam in the 5-star, was on another level. The way she's able to transition to certain things. And Tomoka's grappling in this match, there was little things that she does. Like she puts a crossface on Suzu Suzuki. Now, 9 times out of 10, the crossface that we see, you have your general, your gable grip or your S grip over the person's face, and then you have their arm trapped in between your legs. Where she does this crossface where she's transitioning, where she doesn't have Suzu's arm trapped in between her legs, but more or less she has her back onto Suzu's back, basically holding her in place, very much like a properly done Fujiwara armbar, but instead of the armbar, it's the headlock and the crossface. And it's like, we don't see the crossface done like that very rarely, or if it is, it looks sloppy, where here it actually looked more brutal, because credit to Tomoka, the way she's able to lock her grip in, and just Suzu the way that she sells. So excellent stuff here. Eventually though, we know where this is going to go as this match is ramping up. We get the violence, the forearms, the kicks, the back and forth, great action between these two, the near falls, the buzzsaw kick, just Suzu the way she fires up with some slaps and forearms. She hits that kick trio for a 2 count. Tomoka comes back with the Inaba drop, perfectly set, because Suzu takes so much out of Tomoka in the beginning of the part of this match that she can't follow up from the Inaba drop, which I love. I always love when somebody hits a big move after getting their ass kicked for the last 2 or 3 minutes, but then it cannot follow up on that move or get a cover because they're so beaten up, and they literally had to use a lot of the fighting spirit to be able to hit that move, and it took a lot out of them. I thought that was great. Tomoka goes for the 1 hit, 1 kill Tomoka kick, and Suzu's able to stop that. Hits a brutal German suplex. Tomoka comes back with a stiff kick, and then another Inaba drop that only scores her for a 2 count. She tries for another Inaba drop, but Suzu's able to escape with a tequila shot and a buzzsaw kick for 2. Eventually, though, Tomoka hits the locomotion German suplexes for a 3 count. Phenomenal match, my friend. 4.5 stars. And again, this one is right up there with her match with Kamatani and the match with Hanan from that quarterfinal show just a few weeks ago as Suzu's best singles match that she's pretty much almost had all year, regardless of before or after injury. Suzuki looked like an absolute beast in this match. And considering the fact that, especially the last 90 seconds, she looked like an absolute star, like an absolute killer, going through an absolute killer like Tomoka Inaba. And I was like, oh, I thought Tomoka would have won this match. But regardless, it didn't matter because the match was so good and the way that it was done. It's like, they must have big plans for Suzu, because the way this match finished, it made Suzu just look like an absolute star, considering the fact that, and a killer, considering the fact that she ate so much damage from Tomoka, was able to withstand, and then put Tomoka away as violently as she did. It's like, they must be doing something with Suzu. And as soon as I thought that, about an hour and a half later, I'm like, oh, they are doing something big with Suzu, which we'll get into. 4.5 stars for me, partner. How about you? What was your rating?
I gave this 4 stars. Just a really, really, really enjoyable match. Just two of the best strikers in the company doing what they do. You've given such a good rundown of that. There's very little that I can add. But I will say that it was a showcase for just how good Suzuki can be, and just how good Tomoka Inaba is. We saw it in the 5-star. We've seen it here. She is a special, special talent with literally nothing but upside. Again, we said it in the preview. We said it in the 5-star Grand Prix shows. You should be putting down as much money as possible to get Tomoka Inaba and Azusa Inaba to this company. And I think, as we mentioned in the New Blood preview, the New Blood review even, the fact that we are focusing on them in stables, I think, is a good sign in that direction. Tag team action then. Eye contact and O2 line. I really hope, Matt, that this match doesn't simply get lost to time as the match where Toni Storm made a challenge for the IWGP Women's Championship, because these two teams knocked it out of the park. And much as I love Wingori and I'm excited by the prospect of an Azumi and Starlight Kid team in this year's Goddess of Storm Tag League, both Eye Contact and O2 Line showcased some excellent tag team synergy throughout the course of this match. And it highlights, I said this before, it highlights why the tag team division in Stardom is so stacked, because this match as a whole is bloody breathless, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this was terrific. We knew what we were going to get in this match. And considering the fact that majority of everybody thought this was going to be an O2 line win to set up Azumi and Mayu, my wife was the only one that had Eye Contact on the win the night before when I was going through her predictions. But she said it's not official. She doesn't watch Stardom. I think she's a little upset that I whooped her as bad as I did at the end of that 5-star. But that's neither here nor there. She got this one right with the Mayu and Han. I tried to explain to her. I'm like, well, they're setting up Azumi and Mayu. And she's like, you're not going to talk me out of it. Mayu and Han are taking the win here. And when the backdrop driver hit for the second time, I was like, oh, I did not see that coming, but regardless, this was a great match. You had a lot of seeds planted with Azumi and Mayu, a lot of really good stuff with Azumi and Hanan, as well as Miyu and Mayu. Mayu gave Miyu a lot to work with here. This is one spot in the match where it looked like Mayu was just on the Mayu roll as we're building towards the end of the match. Mayu goes up to the top rope, which I'm assuming she's either going to hit the double foot stomp or the frog splash. And Miyu just stops her, and she hits a DDT, and Mayu properly takes it off the top rope, right onto her head. Right onto her head. And again, you mentioned at the beginning of the show that Mayu's on these next couple shows. That might be a reason why. She wrestled all year she's been wrestling so fantastic and so hard. She wrestled so hard in that 5-star. We saw her neck all taped up. And then she had that insane tag match at the last Sariism show with her and Sari versus Chihiro Hashimoto versus Veni. You throw this in, it's just like, yeah, you see Mayu's off these couple shows and she's getting acupuncture. And I was like, good on you, Mayu. You get that rest. You get better, because these shows are shows that she can take some time off and rest her body, because really she definitely earned a little bit of a break here, because she was lights out in this match. I liked how that Azumi and Miyu, anytime they were in trouble, it was tag work. So it was tag work that helped get the match back into their favor. And Azumi and Miyu Amasaki are so cohesive as a tag team, one of the best tag teams in this loaded division. I thought that was a really good storytelling, that it was just like, we're going to basically use our tag work to get the advantage in this match. And not that Mayu and Hanan aren't good as a tag team, they're just not more seasoned, or they don't have as much experience as Azumi and Miyu as a tag team. So I thought there was some excellent stuff there. I liked how when Azumi goes for the top rope double stop, Mayu probably just kicks her right in the face with a super kick. I thought that was terrific. We get a really good forearm trade off with Hanan and Hanan and Miyu Amasaki. I'm excited, folks. Between the two, a Hanan special for a 2 count. I liked how then Hanan is building up for the wrist clutch backdrop driver, but it's Miyu Amasaki that stops it with, again, I will call it the leg capture O'Connor roll up with the Backlund bridge for a 2 count, just easier for me to say. But then again, we have this basically building to like a one-on-one match with Miyu and Hanan back and forth. And anytime that Hanan would get the advantage, Zumi would come in there for make the save because she's the elder statesman of the team. Eventually, Mayu's like, all right, Azumi, I had enough of this. Mayu wipes Azumi out with a suicide dive that opens up the door for the back-to-back backdrop drivers from Hanan, getting the win. 4.5 stars. And you made mention, partner, about will this match get lost because of the Toni Storm challenge? I see your point there because it looked like they were going to start with something with Azumi and Mayu, but the fact that you took the fact that and you go back and watch this and the crowd reaction, even my reaction watching this, you're taking everybody on this emotional roller coaster of this great match. 2 babyface tag teams that are there just to see who's better. This great roller coaster of a match that sees Hanan get a big win, and then you get the challenge. So with Toni Storm coming back to Stardom, to me it just adds a great match to a great angle afterwards. So I see your point where maybe this match might get lost in the shuffle of just the Toni Storm challenge. But for me, watching this live and whenever I decide to go watch this back, it's just a great thing followed up by a great thing. Again, a great tag match with a great finish, followed up by a great challenge from Toni Storm. Yeah, solid stuff. 4.5 stars for me, good sir.
Yeah, I gave it 4 stars again. And what I will say is, for all the, I hope it doesn't get lost, we did get a great match and one definite challenge and one potential challenge for the IWGP Women's Championship. So really, we're the winners here, aren't we? Let's be perfectly honest. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Again, the chemistry between both teams, but especially O2 Line, who, I mean, I know that Miyu Amasaki ultimately took the pinfall, but I feel like she especially shone during this match because we expect brilliance from Mayu Iwatani. We expect brilliance from Azumi. Hanan has just come off the back of winning the Cinderella tournament and coming into the semi-finals of the 5-Star Grand Prix. If anything, Miyu Amasaki is something of an outlier in this match, and yet not only did she hold her own, she had some of the more compelling sequences in this match. We have a stacked roster and we are very, very lucky. Miyu Amasaki is just the very, very tip of that iceberg, but I thought she did tremendously well here. Right. Okay, so this hurts me on a molecular level, and I imagine fans of Hazuki everywhere are feeling the exact same. This is her 6th attempt at the Wonder of Stardom Championship against a 6th different champion, and she's now consolidated her run as the most unsuccessful in terms of challenges in white belt history, which of course is not a record anyone wants. Now, I felt like this match, and I still believe this match shouldn't have happened here. And we'll talk a little bit about that when we talk about who comes out at the end. However, the journey of Hazuki, when she inevitably gets that belt, is going to be incredible. And because of that history, because of her past failures, there is palpable emotion embroidered into the very fabric of this match that makes it so compelling to watch. I mean, let's be perfectly honest, the white belt plight of Hazuki is one of the most enduring and devastating journeys in Stardom history. And in
wrestling history.
In wrestling history, yeah, absolutely. And there's moments in this match, whether it's the two desperately close near falls, and I am talking, I had to rewind to make sure they weren't threes. The Hazuki Strahl and the Brainbuster lead to her almost openly weeping. At one point, Matt, she is praying to the heavens. If this doesn't tug incredibly hard on your heartstrings, then I'm sorry, you just don't know how to feel. It's as simple as that. You've got this bit at the end where Hazuki refuses to stay down as Natsupoi lays in kick after kick after kick, and she just gets up slower and slower each time, screaming almost in anger at herself for getting herself into this position again. And then we get Hazuki locking in the anchor. The fact that she has recently in Tokyo Sports got the endorsement, in inverted commas, of Kairi. She then brings the anchor into this match. And Matt, I talked about the facials. I talked about the emotion that both women get. This isn't just Hazuki. Natsupoi is phenomenal in this match. A look of just absolute shock and horror as Hazuki keeps coming. But there's a moment where she's got the ankle locked in, and Natsupoi is desperately dragging herself towards this bottom rope, and you can see Hazuki almost in desperate tears. And it's almost this desperation of, I don't want this to happen again. I cannot have this happen again. And as soon as Natsupoi holds that rope, it's almost like, what have I got to do? What have I got to do? Just the desperation and the emotion, the facials of both these women just add a layer to this match that make it so worth the praise that it's received. And I think this doesn't feel like the end for Hazuki, even with all of the anguish that you can palpably feel through the screen. It doesn't feel like the end. It feels like, as the old saying goes, it's always darkest just before the dawn. It just feels like another installment that knocks down Hazuki before she inevitably gets that crowning moment. And as a match, it's just another incredible addition to the ever-growing pantheon of Great Wonder of Stardom matches. Incredible match, incredible emotion, incredible drama. 4 3/4 stars. Another tremendous Hazuki challenge for the Wonder of Stardom belt, and another of just the most devastating chapters in her Stardom history.
Wow, you must have watched a different match because I had a 3-star. No, I'm totally kidding. You mentioned a lot of really great points, and I'm just going to kind of just point a couple of things out. I had it 4 3/4 stars as well. This was terrific. They had a great match at the 5-star Grand Prix last year. They actually almost had like a 2-match series during that time because they had their 5-star match, and then at Stardom X Stardom that year is FWC and Meltier. So it's like, wow, these two have really great chemistry. They had a really good match at the 5-star this year just a few weeks ago, but there was like something missing.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, we know these two can kick it up to another gear. And this was it.
This was that gear, yeah, man.
You're just like, okay, this was really good, but like I don't know, maybe I'm just greedy because these two are such great wrestlers. Maybe it was missing something. Here they didn't miss anything. They really, really didn't. You mentioned obviously you're upset that Hazuki lost, right? I get it. Again, I don't have a favorite wrestler in wrestling. If I had to pick one to be Hazuki, and Hazuki to win the Wonder Belt, because that's the journey, that's the story. If you remember at the press conference last year, with they're building up to her and Saya Kamatani, Hazuki said the reason why she came back to wrestling and she came back to Stardom is to win the Wonder of Stardom Championship, and she came ever so close into that match with Hazuki, and then we've been kind of been doing different things with Hazuki over the last year and change, and now we're led to this. Hazuki on the press conference and social media leading up to this is saying, they did say, this is my 6th shot at this belt. And again, folks, if you're new to Stardom, we know we have new listeners and new watchers all the time. Hazuki challenged Kairi, Io, Momo Watanabe, Arisa Hoshinki, and Saya Kamatani. Literally a litany of some of the best wrestlers of that time, and obviously still great today. This is number 6 for Hazuki, and she said, this is going to be my last shot. This is going to be my last attempt. And nobody in Stardom said that. She put that on herself. So now you're thinking, all right, this is Natsupoi's V1, right? She hasn't had a successful title defense on this. She just won it. They're hot potatoing the belts a little bit. Maybe this is where we're going to see some, V1, V2, V3, V4, so on and so forth. And we mentioned that in our preview with both Natsupoi and Tam, the fact that they just won these belts, and we've been hot potatoing the red and white belt, which is something Stardom really doesn't do. But the fact that Mike and Hazuki were built up so well that you had that inkling, like, okay, I can see them changing the titles. Everybody wants to see Hazuki win the Wonder Belt. Next to nobody didn't want to see Micah lose the red belt because she was doing so good, and we'll get into that fantastic match in a little bit. So it's like, oh, Hazuki's putting all that pressure on herself. And then Hazuki lose, and I'll get to the end, and then I'm just going to, break down the match. I mean, you did it perfectly as expected, partner. But, like, Hazuki loses. And they do a great job of, like, not making, because, there are a lot of people would have been upset that Hazuki lost, that no matter who she was wrestling, could have been Santa Claus on December 25th. They were going to boo Santa Claus because it's Hazuki. So how do you keep Natsupoi a babyface? The way the match was built, and then Natsupoi's promo afterwards, where she sat right next to Hazuki, and basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, basically said, "Don't make this your last shot for the belt. Nobody wants that. I would chase this belt too, and I had several chances to win it, and never did. But eventually, I got it." Basically, telling Hazuki, "Don't give up. Fight on. You'll eventually get there." And I loved how Natsupoi, in a win, is encouraging Hazuki to pick herself back up, because if I can do it, and now, granted, she didn't chase it as long as she did. Granted, she didn't have as many unsuccessful attempts at it. She's been chasing this belt almost as long as Hazuki, and she got there. And she believes that Hazuki, after Hazuki, even though she lost, Hazuki kicked the crap out of Natsupoi in this match. She really, really did. Even though Natsupoi got her ass kicked here, it was like, build yourself back up, Hazuki. And then there's this great shot where she goes to shake Hazuki's hand, and they have it shot from, like, Hazuki's back, and Hazuki has her head down, and Hazuki's back is just so soaked in sweat. She put so much into this match, Rob, that you're like, and I was even, and again, I come from the Ring of Honor school. I'm all about the handshake. I'm all about the honor of pro wrestling. And I was like, don't shake her hand, Hazuki. Don't shake her hand. Leave. Don't leave with any members of Stars. Leave dejected. And let us give that question of what Hazuki is going to do next. Hazuki has been radio silent this entire week on social media. She posts all the time what she's drinking, what she's eating. Her and Kogan are going to the beach, nothing. And I like that, considering the fact that I'm interested to see what Hazuki is going to do this week and all these gluttony shows we're going to do. Is she going to be a little bit more heelish? Is she going to go to the member? Is she going to have to go back to the heel side and go to hate? We don't know, but that's implanted in our head now. So that's really, really good booking, because now we don't know. We're intrigued on what they're going to do with Hazuki. Rob Goodwin, I'm not much of a betting man. However, I will bet a decent amount of money that this match gets run back sometime in the next handful of months, and Hazuki wins the belt. We made mention last week, we want to see Hazuki win the white belt, but she's not built up. She's not built up at all for this match with Natsupoi. That's what they wanted you to do. They wanted to give you that inkling of what if. Now we broke Hazuki down. We're going to build her back up to get this wonder shot, whether that's at the end of the year, whether it's the beginning of next year, whether she wins the Cinderella and then says, you know what, I'm going to go after the white belt, and we get Hazuki and Natsupoi at All-Star Grand Queendom next year, because that's a big match. Maybe that's what they do. But in the meantime, as we're building Hazuki back up, what are we doing for Natsupoi? V2, V3, V4, V5, V6, V7, so on and so forth, right? That's what we're doing with Natsupoi. Now let's get into a little, again, I'm just going to, you've broken down the match perfectly, buddy. Hazuki came to the ring looking so focused. New gear, looked terrific. She was ready to go. Laser focused. Natsupoi, I don't know what it is. She just looks cooler and cooler each and every. She adds a little bit more thing to her outfit and her ring gear each and every show. She had like the veil, like she was getting married, and she might have got married into violence, because that's what Hazuki brought on the other side. And you made mention a little bit ago, partner, how this was a long show. The crowd was starting to get tired as that Suzu versus Tomoka match. They were coming up a little bit, but you can tell they were getting tired. Even in the tag match, it was really good. You got the big pop for the finish. You had the big pop for Toni Storm, but you can tell they were getting a little tired. Hazuki takes her robe off, or what's that called? Kimono off. Everybody pops. Yeah, and everybody starts Hazuki. So they've seen a long show. They've seen a lot of cool stuff, a lot of great wrestling. Toni Storm is challenging Mayu, great, and all got decent pops, but it got the pop, then it came back down because this crowd was just tired. Hazuki's getting ready to face out, and everybody's Hazuki. Hazuki, and they are so into this match where it's just like they could have put this match on the end of an 8-hour show and they wouldn't have cared because they were all about Hazuki, and they did a great job building Hazuki up in this match. Hazuki was so violent in this match. Everything she did, she made sense. And Natsupoi is so good at taking the butt kicking and coming back. We saw Hazuki do an up and over into a German suplex. She's never done that before. I don't think I've ever seen her do a German suplex, especially the up and over. Folks, let me tell you, it's really hard to do the up and over on the middle part of the rope. Most times you see it in the turnbuckle because that's where the ring is most stable. Hazuki, and I called her the wrestling machine and the people's champion for a reason because she was terrific here. And then Natsupoi, when it was time for her to fire up, boy, howdy did she bring it, because she brought to Hazuki, you mentioned with the spin kicks and the forearms and the back and forth. And then Hazuki goes for a top rope brainbuster, and Natsupoi is able to get out and hits a top rope German suplex. I was like, oh boy, howdy. That Hazuki looked like she over-rotated and fell on her shoulder.
Oh my God, it was disgusting.
She's got... I was like, oh, geez, I just hope she's okay. Like, that was crazy because we've never seen Hazuki take that big of a bump before, and Natsupoi give the German suplex off the top rope. But that's what this match meant to both of them. Just great back and forth action. Yes, the fact that we've seen Kairi endorsing on social media Hazuki to win this white belt. The fact that Hazuki had to go into the Kairi playbook with the anchor added so much into it. The fact that we would see Hazuki trying to go for that brain buster, but the first 2 times Natsupoi gets out, and the one time she goes for the fairy magic, that gets stacked for a 2 count, and then into the Hazuki strut. And I want to make mention, I'm going to make mention here because it's the right point, and I'm going to make it mention again in the Tam Micah match. We do not give enough love and credit to pro wrestling referees. We really don't, because of what happens in the action. Let me tell you something, folks. When you have a bad referee, they can really take away from it's a good match. When you have a good referee, they can add to it. When you have, in my opinion, the best referee in all of wrestling in Daichi, and we've seen them do this year after year after year with these 2.999 counts. He adds so much drama to these big championship matches that's like you don't even realize he's adding to it. And I always say, go back and watch Hazuki versus Arisa Hoshinki for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. There is the point towards the end of the match where Hazuki rolls up Arisa, and you can't see it because the camera's on the other angle, but everybody thinks Daichi hits 3, to the point where that part of Cork and How pops because they think they just saw a title change, but it's not over. Daichi he's such a great referee. He stays out of the way. He adds to everything. He's so close on these 2.999 counts. These submissions, it looks like that someone's going to tap because he's so close to getting ready to ring for the bell that you don't know if you need to watch the submission or watch Daichi, but all you know is that you're invested. Daichi does such a great job adding to these matches. This was a phenomenal, phenomenal match, and his call and his close 2.99 counts had me on the edge of my seat. Ultimately, Hazuki finally hits the brainbuster, very much like in the Kamatani match. Doesn't get it. She's so dejected. She goes for it again. Natsupoi is able to get out of there, hits the fairy ring directly into the fairy magic. I love the finish because it was literally Hazuki took her eyes off the ball for just a split second in order for the fairy ring into the fairy magic to get the 3 count. Epic, epic storytelling from these 2 great wrestlers. And again, give credit to Daichi because he was the cherry on top to this fantastic match. 4 3/4 stars. Again, another great match in the history of the Wonder of Stardom champion. And considering the fact that Hazuki has never won the Wonder of Stardom championship, you can put these 6 Wonder of Stardom matches that she's had, that she's 0-6 on, put it up the best against the best 6 Kairi Wonder matches, the best 6 Io Wonder matches, the best 6 Momo matches, the best 6 Arisa matches, and the best 6 Saya Kamatani matches. And you can make an argument outside of Saya Kamatani that Hazuki is the greatest Wonder of Stardom championship wrestler ever. And Rob, she's never won the belt before. She's never won the belt. And I really, really think that she's going to be the one to upend Natsupoi. Again, can you imagine Natsupoi getting V6, V7, V8, and then we go to All-Star Grand Queendom with Hazuki winning the Cinderella tournament, and we're going to run this match back? Who's not going to pay not to see that? You know what I mean? Or who's going to pay not? We're all going to pay to see that. That's what I meant. I think I just did a double negative. Regardless, phenomenal match. One of the best Wonder Stardom matches ever. Maybe Natsupoi's best singles match ever. I don't know. I'd really have to think about it. But again, considering the fact that I'm running on less than an hour worth of sleep and my adrenaline is pumping because that was such a great match. And I wanted to see Hazuki win the championship so bad. But considering the fact this was the V1 for Natsupoi, it would have felt a little bit cheap if we took this off Natsupoi just yet. Regardless, I always say Hazuki white belt championship is the exception to the rule. I think this is where we're going, Rob. And it might be 5 months, it might be 6 months, it might be 8 months, but I'm willing to bet a decent amount of money, not unless something crazy happens, which it can, it's wrestling. I'm willing to bet a decent amount of money. Hazuki is the one to defeat Natsupoi to win the Wonder of Stardom Championship, which will make this story mean even so much more.
I wish I believed. I really do.
Believe, buddy. I told you I was going to make you feel better. I am telling you, Mr. Rob Goodwin, I'm willing to bet a decent amount of money that it's Hazuki that is going to take this belt off Natsupoi. And all this was just like, let's see how this match would look like, because we're going to put it on a bigger show. I'm pretty confident, buddy. I'm pretty confident that it's going to be Hazuki to upend Natsupoi. Let Natsupoi have her run. Let's build Hazuki back up, and then this match is going to mean more. Again, this match had next to no build-up. 1 week build-up with Hazuki winning a number 1 contenders match. Can you imagine Hazuki with a proper build or a Cinderella win with the Natsupoi defeating the Teklas, the Momo Watanabes, the Saikamatani's, if you want to bring Miko Wada back, why the hell not? Whoever, the human Cadillac, Dorian DeVille, what the hell? Not to have Natsupoi. There you go. I want to get you to laugh. Maybe. And how does Natsupoi win that match? With a passion package, buddy. That's how that goes.
With the passion package. There you go.
Damn right. But I'll get off my soapbox, buddy. I understand why we're all upset. However, we can't be upset with this match. And Natsupoi did a great job making sure she got over as a babyface, even with the diehard Hazuki fans saying, "Don't give up. I've been in your shoes before, and look what I have. I have this white belt. Don't give up. Come back and kick my ass and win this." Is basically what she said. So it's like, how can you obviously, if you're upset with that Hazuki didn't win the title, I really think she's going to get there. How can you not after this? I'm just intrigued to see what type of Hazuki we see on the slew of shows coming up over the next week. And I'm really intrigued with that. Again, 4 3/4 stars, great match. But I don't know, partner. I think Hazuki wins that belt. I really do in the next 6 months.
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can allow myself to be hurt again. That's my only thing.
I got you, buddy. Believe, like that Josh Groban Christmas song. If you just believe.
Please don't sing. Please don't sing. And then finally, Mr. Turner, let's talk about the World of Stardom Championship match. Maika versus Tam Nakano. Honestly, one of the better Tam matches I've seen. And what I like about this match is that Maika has openly said, you're making this too much about the looks, you're making it too much about being kawaii and stuff like that. You're supposed to be a champion. Act like a champion. And it looked, at least for me throughout this match, that Tam had taken that message to heart, because even though her leg was in pieces at one point, she's still trying to do the huge violet shooting from down the ramp and things like that. And ultimately, we get these two sides of Tam fighting, the one that wants to entertain and be brutal and, do these fantastic exchanges, and the one that is very much about kawaii and stuff like that. And often it can cause her to make mistakes, and it very nearly did here in this match with Maika, but ultimately, Maika wasn't able to quash her. Maika makes a mistake. Even though she is significantly more powerful than Tam, she makes a mistake and Tam is able to capitalize. What did you think of this match? And what do you think about the fact that Maika loses in the championship match, having won the 5-star Grand Prix? Do you think she comes out looking any weaker, any worse? What do you think?
Rob, you made mention that this is one of the better Tam matches. This match finished, and I was like, boy, howdy. That Wonder match was great. This one was a little bit better.
Wow.
I thought about this over the last few days, and me being the resident Tam fan. Nobody walks the Tam road with a bigger smile than me. Tam's matches with Julia, great. Always will be remembered as a great rivalry, especially with the leading to the hair versus hair match we saw at Budokan Hall back in the spring of 2021. Phenomenal final in the 5-star Grand Prix in 2022. Maybe my favorite 5-star match of all time. Great World of Stardom Championship match last year at All-Star Grand Queendom. And then they had at the final of the Cinderella tournament, basically their final match, at least for now. Tam's match with Mayu, terrific, right? The 5-star this year, 5-star last year. We know we're going to get probably another one down the road. And I thought about this. I was like, you know what? This is Tam's best match ever. Paint dry, as far as bell to bell goes, this is Tam's best performance ever, which is saying a lot because she's had a lot of great matches. Micah, and I mentioned this on the preview that you're going to get people, if Tam loses, you hot potato the belt again. If Micah loses, you're going to get people saying, well, she went undefeated in the 5-star, and Tam didn't win any matches in the 5-star. How does she lose to Tam in 2 weeks? The way this match was done was absolutely brilliant from both Tam and Micah. We have a great match to start. And you made mention last week. What about Tam's knee? And now all of a sudden that's not a thing anymore. Tam gets backdrop over the top rope, and she goes knee first onto the apron. And I was like, ooh, I don't know if that was supposed to happen. I think she was just supposed to go all the way over and then go feet first in the apron. She hits her knee on the apron. And then Micah tries to go at her. And I mentioned Daichi 2 minutes ago. I'm going to mention again. Daichi comes out to check on Tam, and he's going, no, Micah, no, to back her away. And I'm like, oh, God, no. Is Tam injured? Because we've seen so many injuries over wrestling over the last year and a half, especially in Stardom, that I'm like, oh no, is Tam injured? But you go back and watch it. The injured, and again, I know this is an audio podcast, I'm doing air quotes, the injured knee hits the apron and Tam's knee is injured. That was the planned spot, which is genius for both Micah and Tam to be like, hey, if we're going to do something with the knee, I'm going to throw you over the top rope. Instead of taking a clear bump to protect yourself, smash your knee off the apron, and we're going to sell it that way. I thought that was genius. And then eventually Micah, being the aggressor, was like, Tam, I gave you enough time to get in the ring. And the way that Daichi was selling it, I was like, he goes and again, that's your job as a referee, not only as a worker, but as a shoot. When I take these dumb bumps I do all the time, when I have a good referee, they always make sure that I'm okay. That's what a referee does. And so Daichi's out there checking on Tam, and you're like, oh no, to the point where for about a good 20 or 30 seconds, I really thought Tam was hurt, and they're going to have to throw this match out, very much like Toni Storm and Mayu from about 6 years earlier, or 5 years earlier. And then Micah's like, I gave Daichi, if you're not going to call the match, I got to keep going. And she's the aggressor. This match then gets built around the violent shooting. Not the Michinoku driver, not the wrist clutch Michinoku driver, not the violent screwdriver, not even the Twilight Dream. This match is now built around the violent shooting, one of her middle of the road moves, because she goes for that apron running violent shooting. Same running violent shooting that she used all the way on Julia back last year to win the red belt. She did that running rampway violent shooting on Julia. So she tries it on Micah. She can't do it, but she's like a wounded animal that I would see in my backyard. And Rob, you've been to my house before. I live in the middle of nowhere. There's a lot of woods. There's a lot of animals. Like a wounded animal that is running to try to get food. And damn, that hoof be damned on these deer that I see all the time. They need to get there for survival, right? Tam tries to run, can't do it. Tries to run, can't. She's trying to hit this violent shooting. That knee be damned, because that's how important winning the red belt is back from her. Winning that belt back that she never lost, the person that just clean sweep the 5-star. Nobody else has done that. And Micah catches her with that beautiful power slam. And we see Micah start building up. And I thought that was so genius. We see Micah building up the offense with the superplex into the three amigos and Tam coming back and forth. We see Tam, again, trying to go for the violent shooting as she's building up her offense with the spin kicks and the forearms and the strikes. She goes to the violent shooting back in the ring, and Micah catches her with a brutal powerbomb. And I'm like, this is great. We're building the match around not the Twilight Dream, not the Tiger Suplex, which you can, right? But this is very much like a boxer. If you remember those Mike Tyson fights, a lot of those fights that he won was with the uppercut, but he would set up the uppercut with the body shot. Tam, towards the end of this match, is hitting the uppercut, but she's not hitting the body shot. She hits the Tiger Suplex for a 2 count. She hits the violent screwdriver for a 2 count. She hits a violent screwdriver for a 1 count, which I know some people didn't care for the kicking out at ones, but I'm like, I get it, because the psychology of selling, and everybody watch your feet, because I'm about to drop a name, where I learned my psychology of selling was Ricky Steamboat. I spent so much time learning under the Ricky Steamboat tree, and the way he explained selling to me was back in the 70s when he got into wrestling, he would study boxing videos and the way people would get knocked out, because you wanted to make it look as legit as possible. The new thing now, boxing's still very popular. The new thing now over the last 20 years or so is MMA, right? is mixed martial arts. So you do see some fighters when you're getting into championship rounds, they're bleeding, they're beat up, but they're throwing bombs at each other back and forth. I always say, if you're like, well, I don't understand that. Why would they be hitting each other back and forth? You wouldn't see it in a real fight. Rob, we did alternate commentary to this. I say watch Takayama and Don Fry. When you have that much adrenaline, you will punch that person in the face back and forth, and it's exciting. It's exciting. So you get these kickouts at one, you're building towards a match. You're getting your last shot of adrenaline. It's for the World of Stardom Championship, the richest prize in all of wrestling for these two wrestlers. Why wouldn't you kick out at one, right? And it only makes sense for you to go back and forth. We see Violent Screwdriver kicked out at one. We see Michinoku Driver kicked out at one. So it's like, oh, okay, I get it. Tam finally hits the violent shooting, the move she was looking for the whole match, and it opens up the door for the Twilight Dream for the 3 count. I thought that was beautiful. Again, the fact that you take one of Tam's bigger moves, but it's not as big as a Tiger Suplex. It's not as big as a Twilight Dream. It's not as big as the Violent Screwdriver, but she can't hit it. She's hitting all of her other moves. Again, like how Mike Tyson would hit that big uppercut, but he would use the body shot to build up to the uppercut. Tam could not hit that body shot. She was able to hit the bomb on the uppercut, but she couldn't put Micah away. Only till she hits the body shot, aka the violent shooting, does it open up the door for the Twilight Dream and the 3 count. Brilliant storytelling. This match is why I loved wrestling. This match is why I fell in love with All Japan in the 90s. This match is why I fell in love with Ring of Honor 20-some years ago. Because you can do all the flashy, cool moves, and it's great, don't get me wrong. But when you give epic levels of storytelling, like Tam's knee, like Micah's will to just go back and forth with Tam, with Micah's fantastic moveset, and the build to the finish where you don't know where it's going to go, this is pro wrestling at its best. Tam Nakano's best match ever. Micah, another feather in her cap of what is an amazing, amazing year. Again, 5 stars for me. Tam's best match ever. And in my opinion, this now puts Micah in the top 3 for Wrestler of the Year. I made mention on this podcast before, partner. There's 5 people for my Wrestler of the Year. Will Ospreay, Bryan Danielson, Mayu, Micah, and Sari. No disrespect to Bryan Danielson and Sari. They're great, but now it's a 3-person shooting match between Mayu, between Will Ospreay, and between Micah. And I mentioned it before with Hazuki. Even though she's 0-6 when it comes to these white belts, she's our white belt challenges. She's one of the greatest Wonder of Stardom champions of all time. You take Micah's run that she's had with this belt. You take her 2 matches with Utami. You take the championship against Shuri, the match she had with Shuri, and you take this. You put Micah in the same category as a Mayu, as an Io, and as a Shuri, as the greatest wrestler to ever wrestle for the World of Stardom Championship. Micah is on a completely different level, considering the fact that where she was a year ago, the fact that she lost the finals of the 5-star Grand Prix, and she's one of the best wrestlers and one of the greatest years we've ever seen for wrestling overall, period. This was absolutely brilliant, and we had a great promo afterwards where they shook hands, and Micah basically said, this isn't done. Rob, very much like I said, be Micah to end Tam's reign. Not just yet. You literally could have taken these 2 matches and put them in Sumo Hall, copy and paste, and it would have been epic. Like we've seen in Dream Queendom where we had back-to-back Saya versus Tam, and then we had Shuri versus Utami. Where we saw last year we had Mirai versus Soriano, and then Suzu versus Micah. You can literally put these 2 matches, copy and paste, back-to-back in any arena, and you're like, those are probably the 2 best matches I've ever seen back-to-back. If I'm booking, let Tam do her thing. We got lots of stuff lined up. Obviously, we have Suzu, Natsupoi as well. I say All-Star Grand Queendom in April of next year, or whenever they do it, you run these 2 matches back. You're just putting more emphasis on Hazuki and more emphasis on Micah, and then you do the double flip there. That's what I would do. Regardless, 2 great matches and a fantastic show. Again, 5 stars for me. And Micah is just on an absolute run. She's a special, special talent, and I'm really excited to see where they do with the where the Tam road leads us to, buddy. Because I always say, when you're starting off an epic title run, you need to have an epic match, and this was an epic, epic match, not only for Tam but Micah as well.
I apologize. I've just seen come up that they've posted the backstage comments from the Aomori show today, and the Stars team of Sayurita, Hanan, Momokogo, Koguma, and Hazuki. Oh my god. Hazuki is like just not with it at all. I've got a horrible feeling that they're going to turn her. Oh, I really hope they don't, Matt.
I mean, you can do something where maybe oh man. We saw it with Tekla. I failed to mention Tekla and Natsupoi. Tekla came out, looked like she was going to challenge Natsupoi and gave her a hate towel. So now are we teasing that Natsupoi goes to hate, or is it a red herring and we're teasing it's Soriano, right? Because we've seen Soriano in different companies do the heel gimmick with the all black. So it might fit in. That's a possibility as well. So yeah, we kind of have 3 teases after the show of 3 members of going to hate. We'll have to see how it plays out, buddy. We'll have to see where it plays out. Maybe this is something where Hazuki kind of maybe they offer it and she kind of snaps out of it. But considering the fact that she hasn't posted on social media in a week, and I think even Saya Ida posted something the other day saying she became a wrestler because of Hazuki, which I thought was something really it's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, how many more people can turn in 7-8 months? You know what I mean? I mean, the Konami, the Saya Kamatani. I mean, do we really we'd have Azusa Inaba? I mean, do we really do another Hazuki? I don't know. It's interesting. We'll see how it plays out. But I'm totally with it. I hope they don't turn any of those wrestlers. The one that would make the most sense to me would be like maybe they're trying to get Natsupoi, and that's where it's going. But then they kind of hit you with the left turn, and it's Soriano, because that would make the most sense. Well, honestly, what makes the most sense is no more members of hate. Like our take Momo Watanabe and turn her face. She's a baby face anyway, you know. But yeah, I don't know, man. We'll see. I'm totally with you. I can see it because they're planting the seeds. But it's like, how many more members of this roster, especially in the main event scene, can turn to go to this heel faction? I don't know.
Oh, I've got a horrible. She's the only one that doesn't do the stars pose as well. No, we're not going to get into it. We're not getting into it.
All right, Rob.
We're not getting into it.
All right. I talked a lot about Tam and Micah. Again, I put that over. What's your star rating? What do you think? And I just get your scenario there. Then we'll go to EO Kyrie watch, because the EO match with Bianca Belair was great. But yeah, what's your rating for this Tam and Micah match, buddy? Let's steer this shit back into a positive way here.
So I gave it 4.25 stars. I thought it was fantastic. No, I didn't. 4.5, sorry. Thought it was great. I think these two have tremendous chemistry. I think there is another match down the line. Completely agree with you. I do think that Micah will get another shot and will potentially usurp Tam. Whether that is the match in Ryogoku, I don't know. I think it's probably too soon to run it again in Ryogoku. However, I've been wrong before. We saw Mariah and Soriano, for example, though that did go to a time limit draw, so it's slightly different. Overall, I thought this show was really, really good with 4 absolutely fantastic matches closing it out. I think the stories they're telling are interesting. I don't necessarily want Hazuki to turn heel. I understand the rationale behind it because she's lost the one thing she's come back to wrestling for again. But ultimately, would it feel the same if she wins it and cheats to get it? That's a whole thing. Suzu Suzuki is the next challenger for the red belt. There's obviously a whole host of, history there with there's supposed to be a match in Nagoya between Suzu and Tam, I believe, for the red belt. And then that just didn't happen because Tam got injured against Tora. Was it in Nagoya? No, I think it was in Ota Ward. But anyway, there was a match that was supposed to happen also almost a year ago to the day for that red belt and never materialized. Suzu was ultimately robbed of that championship opportunity. So there's all that history going forward, which I really, really like. And I think that Suzu is someone that is really, really, really going to test that knee of Tam. Will she win the belt? It's an interesting one. We will see. We will see. But Matt Turner, we've had a fantastic show. And I think it's time for a fantastic Io and Kyrie watch.
Bro, did you see this match?
I didn't, I'm afraid.
I know how busy you are. I'm telling you, you literally could have put this in Korakuen Hall and the place would have went ballistic. This was like a Stardom-style match. Again, Darren Chatton, good friend of the show. Darren. As usual, he gives me the cues on when to watch, but he was like, wait till you see this match. And it was getting a lot of praise online. So how this starts out is Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair are backstage, and it's supposed to be Bianca and Kyrie in a match. Io comes over, she's flipping out on Bianca Belair. She's doing the thing where she's just nuts, she's unhinged, she's almost trying to like pull her hair out like the Mankind character in 96, and basically yelling at Bianca saying, Kyrie's injured her eye, how dare you try to wrestle her? And Bianca's like, Bianca has such a cool promo. She's like, slow your roll. I didn't book this match. Management booked this match. And if she can't wrestle, that's fine. How about if I challenge you? Then Io goes, I accept. So then they go and have this match, buddy. First of all, it's a great match. It's got to start out with a big lockup. Starts out with a great big lockup. We get high speed action back and forth, like very much like Io in 2015, 2016. Great stuff back and forth. And very much like her in the Mayu trilogy back in 2016, 2007. How it starts out like the back and forth, like the Passos and the lucha rolls, like just the quick stuff back and forth with the backflips as well, because obviously we know Io is super athletic. Bianca Belair is one of the most athletic wrestlers in all of WWE. Really good stuff there. Io's finally able to slow Bianca down with a crossface. Bianca comes back with a huge dropkick and starts building up her offense. Io then is able to come back with a series of Showtie dropkicks, or Showtie palm strikes, and the bullet train that scores her a 2 count. Bianca then slows Io down with the 360 gutbuster. Io comes back with the Joshi dropkick for 2. We get a forearm trade-off between the two. Bianca wins the forearm trade-off. She hits a hot shot into a huge spine buster and then hits the handspring moonsault onto Io Shirai for a 2 count. Bianca then goes for the gorilla press. Io slips out of the gorilla press, hits a beautiful German suplex that scores her a 2 count. Bianca tries to get out of harm's way by going to the outside, but you can't go out of the outside with Io Shirai because she hits the greatest suicide dive in the history of wrestling. That was absolutely terrific. It's a huge pop there. Then Io tries to suplex. You have to see this. You have to see this whole match, partner, but this spot was insane. Io tries to suplex Bianca Belair off the steps, right? Bianca stops, and then she basically does the Micah stalling suplex. Like you see that Bianca has Io up and she's stalling. And you're like, are you going to take this bump onto the floor? Bianca then climbs up first rung of the step, second rung of the step, third rung of the step, and then to the apron. Bianca, partner, still has Io up in the vertical suplex and climbs up the entire staircase and then launches Io in the middle of the ring. I'm like, oh my God, that was insane. And the way that it built after the suicide dive. Bianca figures, hey, while I'm here, I may as well go for the 450 splash. That doesn't work as Io gets the feet up on the 450 splash. Io then goes for the moonsault. However, Bianca stops the moonsault. She goes for the KOD on the way down. Io Shirai and the best version of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat on the way down of this move locks Bianca up in the inside cradle for the 3 count. This place was so hot for the match. It went ebbs and flows. Because again, you have 2 baby faces here, right? That are both over with the crowd, that are both great wrestlers. It ebbed and flowed when you got to the big spots of the match, the suicide dives, the missile drop kicks. And then you got to that insane spot with Bianca picking up Io and then just launching her into the ring after the suplex. And then you tried for the 450 to have a great finish like this out of nowhere. This place absolutely popped. Maybe with the exception, I have not seen every women's match in WWE. I've seen majority of them. But maybe with the exception of Io and Bayley, the best women's match that has happened in a WWE ring this year. And I mentioned this on social media. I'm going to mention it here, buddy. I've been watching WWE religiously since I think 1986, 1987. I don't remember a woman having as great as an in-ring year as Io is having with the WWE. Like, take your Litas, your Trishas, your Wendy Rickners, your Charlotte Flair, your Sasha Banks, your Baileys, yada, yada, yada. From a bell-to-bell aspect, I don't think anybody has great of a year in a WWE ring as Io. You throw that match with Utami in as well, I mean, she's right up there. You know, she might be in the same conversation as I mentioned with the Ospreys and Danielsons and Mayus as one of the best wrestlers of the year. This was terrific. I mean, one of the best Raw matches I've seen all year. Again, go out of your way to see it. I know how busy you are. I know how busy our listeners are. Obviously, if you like the Stardom style of wrestling, you wouldn't be listening for 2 hours if you weren't. This was a Stardom style match just in front of 14,000 people that were molten hot with a brilliant finish. If I'm going to rate this one 4.5 stars, this was great. Go out of your way to see this.
I will definitely go out of my way to see this. I am very, very excited to see this. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us pretty much to the end of our show. I just want to remind everyone that Stardom have an absolutely packed week this week. week. They're in Aomori for 2 days on Wednesday and Thursday. They are both going to be video on demand on Stardom World. They are in Sendai at Sendai Pit on September 21st. That is going to be live. And then they are in Kaminoyama, which is difficult to say, on Sunday. That is where the Artist of Stardom Championship match is going to be. That is going to be delivered at a later date, as is the show on Monday, September 23rd, which is a holiday in Nagata. That is also going to be delivered at a later date, with live action returning with the Korakuen show on September 28th and New Blood 15 as well. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the podcast. We really do appreciate everything, all of your support. Thank you for it all. If you want to subscribe to the podcast, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you could leave us a 5-star review and a comment, that would really help. If you want to check out the website as well, where we've got all of the Stardom stats and history, championship histories, all those kind of things, as well as all of the archived episodes of the Stardom Cast and the Marigold Standard, go and check that out, www.thestardomcast.com. If you'd like to get all of these episodes early and ad-free, then you can sign up to our Patreon for as little as $1 a month, as well as over 200 bonus episodes as well. There are tiers for every single pay grade, for all people. That's what I'm trying to say. As well, you can also find us on social media at the Stardom Cast. Subscribe to the YouTube at Stardom Cast as well. And if you so wish, you can, of course, find me on Twitter at Real Rob Goodwin. Mr. Matt Turner, sign us off, good sir.
Yes, Rob mentioned a lot of fantastic things that we have going on. Don't forget the merchandising page. We have some new 32-bit style t-shirts. So check that out. Some really, really cool stuff there. Folks, questions, comments, suggestions, anything that I can do for you, Matt Turner OF on the Instagram and or the Twitter is the best way to get a hold of me. If you want to shoot me an email, the email address is thestardomcast22@gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for another fantastic episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as me and Mr. Rob Goodwin enjoyed talking about all the fantastic wrestling going on in the Stardom universe. Folks, we appreciate your support. Can't do it without you. It's like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast, because everyone's different. Everyone's special.